Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 198th live stream from the Misfit Gamer Studios. I am your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's episode, we have a brand new monk subclass coming from Hecate called Way of the Scarlet Dance. I'm very interested in this one because I have always been fascinated in making monks more than just like super speedy and super punchy. And I love the idea of incorporating something that's performative because I've seen it done with bards, and now I would love to see it done with a monk, which is more of a martial class. So join us as we figure out exactly what it is, and welcome to the new studio, I guess. We're back in the regular studio with some minor upgrades. Namely, I finally put that up on the wall, so it looks really awesome because if I go back enough, everything goes around my head. I like it. But other than that, we have some new visuals, as you saw during the countdown there. We have a new background for that, courtesy of Vixie. She found that for me. And then she also found these. So now we have a little bit of different, you know, we have a little bit of flair now.
That's fire.
But she was able to find these. They didn't fit, so she also mocked them up and made them fit. So
nice.
Shout out to Vixie for that. And yeah, I also, in light of that, I changed our camera sizes. I did the doodly doos down in the bottom. I fixed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So now we actually just have the most recent bio unlock.
Okay.
Instead of just like this list of nothing.
Sure.
We might continue to add onto it, or we'll only just do that. And then once we have a couple, we'll update the website. And then the website will have them permanently.
Sure.
But I kind of like that there's that down there. But we're open to suggestions. So, excuse me. If you're in the Discord and you have any suggestions, whether you like the new stuff, you hate the new stuff, or you have new ideas, let us know. It would be great if you could post any ideas in the Discord. We have a suggestions channel for that. And that's everything. That's everything from suggestions for the Discord, suggestions for the stream. But yeah, I wanted to, just change things up. I've been bothered with this particular scene for a while now. There was a lot of dead space, and I really wanted to make the cameras bigger, but I don't like the idea of the cameras being everything, just like pure cameras.
Sure.
So I wanted to clean up a little bit, so at least the text is a little bit more prominent. Our cycle of our emotes, I think, is a little bit more prominent. And then chat will still continue to go up between us, but once it reaches here in this
area,
once it reaches to this little corner, it'll actually start to go behind our cameras.
Okay.
So it's stylistically, it might not look that great, but we rarely ever have chat that blows up that much.
Sure.
So we'll see how bad it is.
We look forward to the day where we need to change that.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But that also does mean that anything before this line, is like the most important chat to keep track of, and anything above here, old news.
You'll figure it out.
But yeah, no. So I really, I did a bit of cleaning up in the studio here, moved a bunch of things around. As you might notice that Kage is even slightly in a different position than he usually is. He's not, cowering underneath the cat seat there.
A little bit. Listen, it was a good time. It was a good vibe. I got to hang out with my boy.
Yeah. But it's a lot more open and roomy in here. I wonder if the audio has changed since we've been back in here. Vixie was in here earlier and commented how more echoey it is since I've cleaned it out.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm just, because there used to be a lot more stuff on the ground. There used to be a lot more stuff in that corner. And so there is a lot more dead space in here. But it's also been a while. I don't even know how it sounds because we've been on the remote microphone for so long.
That's fair.
So I'm assuming, I'm hoping that this is a good sound because it's been so long since we've been on these microphones. But
that's true. But,
I do miss being back in here. I'm glad
it's cozy. Yeah, no, this is the place to be.
So hopefully everybody out there is enjoying it, some of the new changes. But again, let us know how it is. I did see that we had some good push for the next community stream. I think we're up to, I think we're almost done, actually. Where is it?
Oh, wild.
Can I see it? Where is it's usually like right up on my screen, but I don't see it right now. I don't know why it's not there. But I know that it's been being pushed on. Soul has already given 4K to it, and I think it's only going to be 15K, so I'm pretty sure they'll get it by the end of the month. That's fine.
Right.
We have ours actually. Did we confirm a date for the October? I can do this weekend or next weekend. 18th or 25th. We're going to figure it out right now. We're going to figure out when the community stream is.
If there was something that was supposed to go on my calendar during that time, it isn't there.
That's kind of how it feels. Like it's early. It's soon enough that like basically I'm good to go because if it's not on my calendar now, it's not going to be on there.
That's kind of how I feel right now. So yeah, let's shoot for. Do you want to do it this weekend, or do you want a week to?
What do y'all think, chat? We have 6 people in chat. Let us know. What do you guys think? Should we do the October community stream this weekend or next weekend? Because y'all still have to get the votes in Discord and decide. Halloween community stream. Yeah, how we'll have to do something interesting and special.
Oh, you want us to wait until the 31st?
We can't. Well, we're gonna. Technically.
Or the.
Are you busy? Our Friday is the 31st, which would be our normal stream day. I'm not going to be busy. We could do a holidays, like an actual holidays Halloween stream. I don't know what we would do though. Like we could play games. Like if you wanted to remote in, we could do some more stream together.
That's true.
Oh, you know what? If we do a stream together, we could play like Fortnite or something, and I could dress up. I could do like a costume stream.
I got something I can wear. I got something I can wear.
See, the thing is like, I don't know how we can't get you on video if we're going to be doing video games.
Oh.
Unless we're going to do like a board game. But I was kind of thinking, yeah, we don't know what we're going to do for the community stream yet, but actually, if we want to do a regular... I don't really want to... I just put this all in here. I don't want to take it back into the back room and do a board game thing.
That's fair.
Because that would be the thing, is go play a board game, but I really don't want to move all this shit all the way back there again. Because I just
got
fucking moved it in here. That's the downside of only having one system and not being able to do that.
That's fair. That's soon.
Let's see. All right, we know what? We'll give it up to a poll in chat. We'll do a live poll right now. When for community stream, because that's English. Hello. Let's see. So what are our options? 18th or 26th? 25th, yeah. And then I think I'm gonna do the poker. I'm gonna offer the poker night either the 20th. Well, I gotta get that text out and be able to do that right now. Okay, chat. You have 3 minutes to vote.
3 minutes.
No additional votes. Actually, you know what? You can have additional votes if you guys really want it on a certain day. Vote your heart out. But here you go. 3 minutes to let us know, when should the community stream be? Should we do it this weekend or should we do it next weekend? Let us know. We are going to decide that right now. So if you were here in stream, you were getting to decide that. And let me get that text out, because that's the best time to do things in your personal life is live on stream. I mean, because it's content. It's
what you do.
It's the best content you can have.
It's what you do. Tell me it's not real life right here.
No.
But I just in general, it was a vibe over there. I had a table over there, but it is good. It is good to be back. Like I don't know. It's weird. It's almost like coming back from vacation. You know what I mean? Get to settle into your house. I don't know. It's a vibe for me. But I'm curious. I'm hoping you guys have been liking the video game streams we've been able to do. Those have been kind of fun for me too. Yeah, the biggest reason why I like gaming in the first place, people, right? So now, a lot more often I get to do that. It just makes it a little better. Oh, Soul's got some good news for us. We love to hear that. What do you got for me, Soul? You got no calls. Oh. Okay.
Cool. All right, I just got that text out.
We love that.
Woo-hoo! Let's
go.
Ooh, yeah. Hello. Thank you so much for that. That is awesome. That is such an amazing feeling. I hope that is going to be, such an awesome move for you, Soul. Congratulations and good luck on continuing that streak. Hopefully you got in with some really good people. That's amazing. Where is it? Where's the more dancing? We got to have more dancing.
More dancing.
Congratulations. And then we did do our hydrate and posture check, but I'm going to double hydrate. That's why I was drinking right when I went live. I wanted to make sure you knew I hydrated.
I was hydrated.
Yes. Awesome. Congratulations to you as well, Hecate. Big moves for everybody. See?
Dude.
Everybody's
moving up in the world.
Soul moved, Hecate moved, I moved back into here. We all moved.
Everybody's moving.
All right, what did we get? Next Saturday, October 25th, is the vote with 3 votes cast. Okay, lock it in. That's when we're gonna do it.
The 25th. Hold on, let me...
Let's see, October 25th, community stream is gonna happen. Boom. We are locked in. I will get the post in Discord later, and we will get that figured out on what we're exactly going to do. It's dangerous to stream alone. Take this. That's awesome. Well, hopefully you can have many more nights of sleeping in a nice warm bed. Comfortable, safe, and secure. Congratulations. All right, so let's see here. We have our community stream decided. We'll post that in Discord here probably tomorrow. I will get those votes out. November community stream is on its way. I don't think we have any other major updates. I think I do have to figure out. I'd have to fix the outgoing and be right back screens, but the welcome one, the starting stream, was the one I wanted to take care of the most.
Love that. That was way cool.
All right, cool. Well, I guess we can begin our stream for today.
The best way to begin is by beginning.
For Hecate's Way of the Scarlet Dance. I hope everybody's excited for this one.
I most definitely am.
Let's see here. Window capture. Boom. Here we go. It's been a minute. I have to actually get used to like how to rework and everything. A warlock pack idea. Ooh, a new warlock pack would be interesting. Pack of the parentals. I'm
the parentals.
I mean, I'm always interested in new stuff. The name is not enticing, I will say. I'm not immediately drawn to that name, but we'll see. You know what? Like, send it to us and we'll see what's up.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
I forgot about this bullshit. I forgot about this bullshit that I have to deal with every single time I'm at my desk. There we go. We'll just leave it there. All right. Well, we'll get to this here. Let us know if you make that pact, and we will definitely review it. But as for today, we have Way of the Scarlet Dance, a monastic tradition. Is that actually what it is?
Mm-hmm.
A monastic. Interesting. I don't think I've ever actually looked at what the monk subclass.
That terminology. Yeah. It's wild.
Okay. Pact of Power. The pact might make you instantly ripped. I like that.
America.
All right, Hecate. Let's see what you got for us today with Way of the Scarlet Dance. Starting, as always, with the description. Monks who embrace the Way of the Scarlet Dance see combat as an intricate performance, where the dagger becomes both partner and instrument. They are drawn to the elegance of weaving through foes with precision, each movement calculated to strike deep and leave lasting wounds. I like that idea already. For these monks, the art of bleeding an enemy is more than a tactic, it's a symbol of mastery, proving that even the smallest cuts can fell the mightiest opponent when timed to perfection. The Scarlet Dance is not just a fighting style, it is an expression of balance. To master it is to turn the battlefield into their stage, and their enemies into unwilling participants in a beautiful, bloody symphony. So, I'm already really interested. I love the idea of playing with types of wounds instead of just the concept of types of damage. The idea of being able to afflict wounds and having that have lasting issues, I think, is something that's drastically missing. My one thing is the fact that it mentions daggers, which I'm not super upset with, but I was kind of hoping for either a kind of like a battle shift mentality where you use, like, you would have like fans, but like, you know how they've actually had the metal fans that you can actually use as weapons. Mm-hmm. I was kind of hoping for something like that, not so much leaning on a weapon we've already seen.
Sure.
I wouldn't have minded, the expansion into a new weapon set.
Sure.
That was my first instinct, is like, man, I see dagger, and I was hoping for just kind of a new set of weapons.
Even though again, we talked about this when it comes to subletting subclasses. the idea that someone's gonna take this idea and only ever use daggers.
True.
I think I would love to see some creative ways to use this. Sickles, dude, that would be sick.
Oh yeah,
that would be sick.
There's just
there's all kinds of stuff you could do.
But yeah, I'm super zoned in on making enemies bleed and doing different types of damage. Like I'm hoping that is absolutely going to be essential to this.
And this coming from the man who gave us permafrost condition. So I'm very excited to see what comes with this.
Let's go. Okay, so let's figure this out. Not a bad representation here. I like it.
That is clean.
Good representation. Good idea of kind of already what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. I got you, bro.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with this, and I'm excited to see what we can come up with. So,
his robes are red to hide the blood.
Hey, at least they're not brown. All right. So, at third level, we get our first ability called Scarlet Waltz. Your movements flow like a deadly dance, gliding through the battlefield with relentless grace, with each strike leaving your foes bleeding. Consult the bleeding table below for damage and max stacks. Yes, a subclass that comes with their own table. I dig it. I'm down for this. All right, bleed table. At level 3, your damage is a 1d4, and it can do can max stack out of 2. So I'm assuming that we're gonna know how often you have to bleed, whether it's every round or whatnot.
Sure.
But interesting. So with each strike, your foes leaving your foes bleeding. So you can give them up to 2 stacks at level 3, up to 4 at level 6, 5 at level 11, and 6 at level 17. And then I'm actually really interested in the fact that it doesn't go up in damage from 3 to 6. It goes 4, 4, 6, and 8. It goes 1d4, 1d4 on the damage, and then it goes 1d6, 1d8.
So I think the idea for the scaling is, okay, so at third level, the most damage you can do with this is 2d4. At 6th level, the most damage you can do is 4d4. And like that's the mindset.
Yeah. It's very rare that you don't see it all exponentially go up.
Sure.
So not upset with it, but I'm also curious how long the bleeding lasts and how much more damage it actually does.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm digging the fact that we get a table for that. So serrated edge, you cause a target to bleed with each dagger hit. The target takes 1d4 points of bleeding damage at the start of its next turn, stacking depending on level. Magical healing ends the bleeding effect, or the bleed effect. Okay, so it says that when you hit them, they take 1d4 at the start of their next turn. And then, so is this indicating that only magical healing stops it? So it's always going to be at the start of their turn indefinitely?
That is a good question.
Because it reads as if I can hit him one round, and when I first hit him, he will now take 1d4 at the start of every of his turns. And I can hit him again, and then he'll be 2d4. And that's the max I can do.
Sure.
But it's just going to be until he gets
perpetual
magic, because it says magical healing ends the effect. Because it doesn't say that there's a time frame. It doesn't say 10 rounds. It just says he's going to be bleeding unless he's magically healed. So Hecate, can you confirm that? Is this only because at third level, inflicting a damage effect on someone that can only be healed by magical healing, I feel that sounds very OP. Because at that point, I mean, all you have to do is hit something once and just prevent it from getting near healing, right? I mean,
sure.
You could basically kill a Tarrasque as long as it's locked up. You could slash it once.
If I get any
as long as you hit it, you could walk away, and as long as it can't escape, it will die.
Sure.
And because I don't think it can heal. You know what I mean? Like, so there's just a concept there behind the fact that you're so good, it's just gonna bleed out.
Sure.
If it doesn't have magic, that I'm not on board. At level 11. Yes. At level 11, I could immediately see your inflicted bleeding requires magical healing to remove. That sounds like something I would want later in the game.
But even with just for the concept itself, like I understand some of this could be magical, but I feel like the bleed should have some sort of intended limit on how long a bleed will last innately, right? Like I'm thinking like a minute, right? If the bleed mechanic lasts a minute, which is generally speaking an entire combat, unless you get...
So Hecate says the notes for bleed condition explain the length. So I don't have any notes about the bleed condition. So is that something that we lost in translation?
Let me see if I can
let us check for that real quick. Because I don't specifically have any notes about bleeding, so I don't. That's the confusion that we're having, Hecate. And we don't know how long the bleeding effect is supposed to last.
Let me take a look. All right, I'm looking at the original documentation.
All right, so I'll read the next two just so we can kind of get caught up. So that was Serrated Edge. It's 1d4 magical healing ends. Flurry of Daggers. When you use Flurry of Blows, you can spend 1 focus point to make 2 additional dagger attacks instead of unarmed strikes. Okay. And then Dancer's Grace. When you hit a creature with a dagger, you can choose to shift your position gracefully. You can move up to 5 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. I actually like that one.
Do I just not have those? Okay,
should be on the second page.
Let me read it to you. I have it here to read to you. I'm just trying to figure out where it was in the Goblin Notebook version of it. But
yeah,
basically it says bleed represents painful ongoing damage caused by deep wounds, torn magical essence, or unstable internal energy. When a creature is afflicted by bleed, it takes extra damage at the start of its next turn. And extra damage meaning, I'm assuming, on top of whatever the original weapon's damage is.
Right. That's how I read that. And it's only at the start, so you still do weapon damage, but then at the start of its next turn, it's going to then take additional damage.
Yes. It says the amount of damage is equal to the damage die dealt by the triggering attack or effect, unless otherwise specified. I'm assuming this is a damage condition. This is a thing that is going to be more universal to the game world. And again, like similar to the permafrost condition, it's just a condition. It's a new condition that a creature can be afflicted with, right? And so it could be something other than this that afflicts the bleed condition, which honestly I'm really happy for, because that's kind of what I was hoping for.
The actual mechanic is that the bleed, the amount of damage is equal to what caused it.
Is equal to the damage die dealt by the triggering attack.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, if you get hit by a D10 and it makes you bleed, you're taking a D10
every turn.
Damage. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's fascinating. Okay.
That might have answered that question you asked earlier about the D4, only because of
this one's specific to daggers, and it's specific to this.
It's specific to daggers, and you do get to increase the damage of your daggers as you increase in your monk level, because it can increase with your monk die.
So this only works in this subclass. The bleed condition is only working if you're using daggers. Like, well, this doesn't sound like you'd be able to use another weapon and get all of these same benefits, because everything does reference dagger. So I think this subclass is specifically trying to target the idea.
Interesting. I'm curious if you can confirm that for us, Hecate.
Because if not, I would definitely change the verbiage here, because everything seems, I mean, from the description to even this particular one, this ability, everything is mentioning daggers. Even your flurry of blows, you make 2 additional dagger attacks. Instead of your punches.
Because this, I think Flurry of Blows specifically says they're unarmed attacks. Even if you're armed and like carrying weapons, whatever you're doing your Flurry of Blows, it's considered a punch, not whatever your weapon is. So and this is basically saying you can use your weapon.
I think that is why
I do like that.
Yeah, I just feel like that's why my gut said that it would have been better to just open this up to, improvised weapons of a performance status, because then it's basically, assigning a few different weapons, just some basic like modifiers. You could do a dagger version of like the fan. It could just be a dagger. Like there would be like a little bit more options there.
I will say, maybe just for naming purposes, it makes it a little bit easier to just use dagger as the original example.
So according to Hecate, this is a dagger subclass. Early levels, they bleed at the start of their turn. Then then the bleed ends for them, and the stacks determine the number of damage they take. So that's okay. So according to Hecate, they bleed at the start of their next turn, and then the bleed ends. So then how would I stack it? Like, is it just meaning that the first time I cut them, and then the next turn they're going to bleed a 1d4, and then if I hit them again in the same combat, then they will bleed 2d4 from then on every time I hit them. Is that the idea?
Oh, yeah.
So it's not ongoing.
Fair.
It's just
You just take one singular extra instance of bleed damage.
each dagger hit adds a stack. Okay, so that's all it is. So I hit you with the dagger for 1d4. At the start of your next turn, you're going to take a 1d4. At some point, regardless, in the fight, I hit you again with my dagger for 1d4. At the start of your next turn, you take a 2d4. And any time from then on out, you will take 2d4 if I got you.
I think it's like this. I think it's because monks specifically get so many attacks. I can hit you once with one dagger, I hit you another time with another dagger, and that second dagger is what gives you the second stack.
Interesting. Yeah,
And
each
so-
dagger hit will be a stack. So
Now-
if you get multi-attack off, then yeah, you would instantly get 2 stacks.
Yeah. So it's only if you hit with your attacks that you're actually going to be able to get any of these stacks. Now I'm curious
Interesting. Okay,
if
so you
the
have to have
subclass
multi-attack.
is going to give you the ability to strike 6 times in one turn.
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand here. Is that's what I'm like. Is it the fact? Because is it okay? So
because it could come.
okay, wait, hold on. So here's the question, Hecate. Is it? Did the stacks have to be from attacks in the same round? Because again, my theory was that it's round 1. I hit you with my dagger attack.
Yes.
On round 2, you're going to take the extra d4. Let's say then later on round 5 happens. I hit you with my dagger for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
In round 6, at the start of your turn, you're going to now take the 2d4 damage because I've already hit you previously. So the next dagger hit would add the stack. And then from then on, you're capped at 2d4.
So they're not necessarily, you don't have to have the bleed condition, but if you've had the bleed condition.
That's what I interpreted it as, because when I look at this max stacks, when there's 6,
that's a good
you're
question,
not going to
Hecate.
get 6 attacks in a row. Like, again, you'd have to really min-max this character to get 6 attacks in a round.
Right.
To make that stack make sense. If
And so when you get the magical healing, it resets you back to 0.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why it's important that if I hit you with my dagger, your other teammate should heal you, because if I've hit you 3 times this round and I have 3 stacks on you, you might want that magical healing. Otherwise, that's going to be 3d6. So that's what I'm trying to understand here. Is I thought it was regardless of throughout the battle, it's any hit adds the stack. But you make a good point. If it is only in one attack, this indicates we're going to be able to have 6 attacks in a round.
Yeah.
So that's where that's where I think my interpretation is. I wasn't assuming.
I think that's an interesting idea.
Round.
Like, it's definitely not what I was thinking, but I think that's an interesting idea. Yes, same round as.
So if you hit them with a dagger, you do unarmed strike. Okay, so yeah, same round. So round 1, you hit with a dagger. Then if you do an unarmed strike with dagger, then it's 2 stacks in the subclass. Further, there are ways to get more stacks. Okay, so it is
there are ways to get more stacks.
So eventually we're going to be able to get up to 6 stacks based
Gotcha.
on this subclass. Interesting.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie. Even if it's not the way it works in this subclass, I like that idea. Of it
just being, because to me it's almost like Hunter's Mark. It's almost like your own version.
Sure.
If as long as you're attacking the same enemy, you're gonna keep dealing
it's
these
like
really
you closed
massive
up the
wounds.
wound, you stopped the bleeding, but the wound is still there. And if I reopen that thing again, you're gonna hit that bleed again.
Or even though it's not bleeding, it's still a deep enough wound that another one is just gonna be that much more detrimental to you, because now you're just So
because again, HP is not just
we'll see. So we'll see how
cool.
it feels, because right now I'm just hesitant on how is it gonna feel to get those 6 stacks, because again we're talking about someone who can do damage and then do damage again. So with 6 stacks of D8s, like 6 D8 extra damage, I really want to know how good does it feel to get those, because if it doesn't feel that, if it's too complicated, level 17 doesn't feel early enough to get all of that.
Yeah.
But if it's way too easy, I'm worried that by level 6, I mean, you're basically just doing double damage just to do double damage, right? So that's that fine line you have to walk of. It can either be a slog to get to level 17 and not feel good, or it's so easy that you're almost too powerful too quick.
Yeah.
So I'm really worried.
I totally hear that.
That's what I'm most gonna focus on as we continue, is how easy are these stacks feel, and how good do they feel to get.
Okay.
And Secretary says in this subclass there are more ways to get stacks than just melee strikes. Good. But that's the thing.
Sweet.
I just want to know, how good does it feel? Is it too easy? Is it too hard? Or does it feel like through this combat, I feel like I'm actually truly earning these. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Just because 68 at level 17 sounds great. It just depends on how easy it is going to be to get at that point.
Sure.
But also an extra 44 at level 6. I mean, even extra 2d4 at level 3 is still wild. Like that's a good amount. Not overpowered.
Now,
but if it's like almost guaranteed, it could be too much.
Yeah. My question is for sure going to be, how often is this going to be able to proc?
So right now, as we know, well, so far there are no limits. So right now we know that if you use the Serrated Edge ability, it will give them a single stack. If you use this ability for Flurry of Blows, whenever you use Flurry of Blows, you can spend a focus point, so there's one action economy.
Sure.
You can swap those two attacks with dagger attacks.
Sure.
So each of those would be a stack. And Flurry of Blows is a bonus action.
Yes.
So right there, that's 3 stacks. So we only have 2 right now. So you could attack and then bonus action Flurry of Blows, and then potentially...
At 3rd level, theoretically, I believe this is rules as written for 5th edition, you can do an offhand attack with your bonus action. Like, you don't get like certain benefits that you get with your main action.
Right.
So if I wanted to, because you can only get the 2 stacks. If I wanted to not use any of my stuff, I could do a action attack, bonus action, offhand attack. And
as long as they have dagger in each hand. Right?
As long as you have a dagger in each hand, right?
So either way, getting 2 stacks at level 3 is going to be pretty easy.
Sure.
So, but again, you're still using proper action economy. You're not just getting it. Okay. Because you still have to hit.
Yes.
Either way. And I do like the use of the focus point, so that's good. And then Dancer's great. I think this is great. I think for a level 3 ability, whenever you hit a creature with a dagger, I honestly think that this should be changed to whenever you inflict the bleed condition, because that's the whole point. Inflicting the bleed condition also affects any enemies around you, right? So it shouldn't just be every time you hit someone. I would just change the verbiage to be more in line with the fact that it should be with the bleed condition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you're so likely to do that whenever you're hit. I mean, theoretically, it's the same thing, because whenever you hit them with a dagger, you're inflicting the bleed condition.
And that's only why. That's why but I would just expand. Just again, it sounds like it would go more in line with it, and it would be easier to alter if someone wanted to talk to their DM and say, "Hey, can I change out my weapon?" And they're down with it. Things like that, when it's just on the blade condition, make it immediately, instantly transferable with less work for everyone to change the verbiage. So again, it's pedantic. It doesn't change how it operates.
Yeah.
I just feel like it sounds better if this says, when you inflict the bleed condition, you can choose to move 5 feet. And I like that. And honestly, if it were any further, I'd say it should take your reaction, but 5 feet, I'm fine with just a small shift.
Sure.
So that's where I'm kind of at with that one. I think that was great at 3rd level.
Okay, real quick. I use my action. I attack. I inflict the bleed condition. I move 5 feet away from the target without invoking the opportunity. Do I still have the rest of my movement?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is in addition to this, does not use movement, because shifting, in my opinion, is one of those features that I've liked in other. Just the idea of being able to tactically move just 5 feet. Like, rogues, you deserve to be able to get the fuck out of there. I get it. You deserve that ability. There are feats that, let monks do it. But I think a shift is very valuable as a side ability, but not like everyone should be able to do it. It should be situational. And in this particular case, not having it affect your movement, but also being able to be stacked. Being able to do an action, inflict the bleed condition, shift, then do Flurry of Blows as a bonus action, use my focus point to do 2 additional dagger attacks, inflict the bleed condition, shift 5 feet. And at that point, I could be away from all enemies, and then I can use my movement to leave the area. That is how I would use it. I would literally stack it to where I'd get away from all enemies, then use my move to just leave. You basically become your own rogue.
I'm literally like watching this little dance happen where this guy is like in the middle of trying to like escape some place, and he's like got guards all in front of him, and they're like in this huge line in front of him. He's just like, oop, underneath you, and he like flicks blood to the next person's eye that comes underneath him, does the same thing to the next.
We actually had this debate recently on the concept of Flurry of Blows. Actually, you and I had this kind of debate over whether or not it should be or is intended to be targeted at a single target or not.
Sure.
Now, in your argument, like your case was that it does not state and does not have any, reason to why you shouldn't be able to target multiple enemies. Like there's no actual ruling that says it's only against one. My argument is more fundamental of the way you're attacking is very indicative of you were just throwing punches at a body. Yeah. Like Bruce Lee style. And you're not shifting from person to person. That was just my art. But again, that was more of a philosophical argument about D&D because it doesn't, you were correct. There are no rules on it. So therefore, that is up to the DM to decide, can flurry of blows be used on multiple targets?
Sure.
But if we go with that interpretation, your description is even more so true. I'm standing off with Brute. Main attack, I make him bleed. Shift. This guy, I do flurry of blows, spend a focus point, attack here, shift, attack here, shift. Like I've literally just I'm literally weaving in between. And then you do tag. And then if you get action surge, if you multi-class in fighter, action surge.
Wild.
Bam, 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 bam. Okay, so you're you could literally be the monk fighter and just and then at the very end of it go, I also have this other ability that lets me use my movement to, because there's another ability where like you can move and anybody you pass you'll damage. Like it's like I think there was a feat that someone else can do. So if you have that, so it's like you go d, and then you're like, now I use action surge to d, and then I use this action to g. Like you just your ability to constantly be able to be on the move and damaging goes so in line with the dancer concept. So that's how I think. Again, Hecate, let me know if you agree. But I would absolutely rule that the moving 5 feet, especially if you say it's with the bleed condition, I think it just sounds better, but I do believe that it shouldn't take your movement and it should be in any instance.
Sure.
So therefore, if you break out all of your attacks, you should be able to shift targets as you do it. That would be my rule.
I like that a lot.
Because you get moments exactly like what you described, where you're just going under someone, dancing, cutting that person, dancing. You're just you're flailing, like, almost like the drunken the drunken boxer kind of concept, where no one can hit you because you're just your fluid movements are just inflicting carnage.
Absolute carnage.
One step forward, 2 steps back, left, right. Exactly. But I like it so far. So I'm really interested in all of this. What's going on, Cart? Let me get you your third right quick. Boom, there you go. All right, so let's move on. We have a secondary third level ability, Scarlet Rapture. Also, when you attack a creature immune to bleeding, your strikes exploit fractures, magical energy, or corrupted essence to impose a similar effect. So basically, if the creature can't bleed,
you won't bleed anyways.
Overcome it, right? Undead and constructs can now gain bleed stacks as though they were living creatures. Instead of physical bleed, the stacks represent leaking energy or structural breakdown. The damage and mechanics of the bleed stack remain the same. Okay, so this is basically saying that creatures that otherwise don't have blood. So, is there any indication on that bleed condition of? Does the bleed condition call out creatures that normally can't? Or I'm wondering, is this just here to make sure there's no rules or argument?
In the original statement talk about torn magical essence or unstable internal energy. It includes all of those things in the original description of what the bleed condition is.
Take it easy, Huilepa. Thank you for showing up.
So I think it was meant to make sure to include that possibility, but I do think that there's nothing in here that specifically states. I think whatever gives you the ability to inflict bleed will determine whether
that's where
doing.
Okay, so that's where I would definitely suggest making some changes. If this is supposed to overcome it, I would highly suggest that in the base mechanic, you specifically call out things like constructs and undead and not have the bleed condition.
So here's a little additional snippet. It says bleed resistance and immunity. At the DM's discretion, some creatures may be resistant to or immune to the bleed effect. It says immune creatures without blood or vital structures, such as oozes, elementals, or swarms. Resistant creatures with regenerative abilities, supernatural resistances, or exceptional doses of such forms of magical protection. Just basically whatever the DM can think of to say, this person's not going to be able to bleed.
Okay, so with that being said, like, there's a DM discretion already. So here's a couple issues with that, right? If it's already DM discretion, giving this the overcoming effect, like if it's already DM discretion, right? And they're just like, anything can bleed, right?
Sure.
This becomes useless as an ability because anything can bleed, right? Like this is supposed to overcome the immunity of bleeding.
Well,
and the immunity, the things that like, so I would just, you know what I'm saying? Like I would more specifically say that these things are not intended to bleed, because then this actually makes this useful because it's supposed to overcome something that right now may or may not be needed to overcome.
I see what you're saying.
I'm just saying
you're saying this should be standard instead of at DM discretion?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if that's at DM discretion, the DM's like, oh, cool, I'll totally add the bleeding effect. But I'm not going to bother with things can't bleed. Everything can bleed.
Sure. So
character hears that and goes, oh, I heard there's a subclass that goes along with this. Oh, everything can bleed already. So it's one of those situations of you're not solving a problem that you've already solved. You what I would really suggest is create the problem first. Say that, in
the description of the bleed mechanic, say these creatures are immune to bleeding because of whatever.
Yeah, just undead constructs, oozes, or purely magical or entities. Those things can't bleed, and that way you have a basis for this thing to be like, hey, by the way, I overcome that very specific limitation of this mechanic because I'm special in it.
Yes.
It makes it make much more sense. It makes it make more fluid. Plus, it again, DMs, the reason why they go to rules, why do people buy the rule books? They want hard, concrete facts.
Sure.
If you tell them undead don't bleed, it does not matter. Hey, I have this giant hammer and it says if I inflict bleed, it's a 1d10 because it's a war hammer. Well, it's an undead. It's not going to bleed no matter how hard you make it try, right?
Sure.
Like their DMs want that concrete, okay, cool, I like this bleed condition, but these things don't bleed.
Yeah.
Like we talk about a lot about you can always change the rule, but in reality, people want the rule for the concrete, here's the line in the sand.
Sure.
So I would just suggest Hecate make that line in the sand for them and then guarantee that this has a place,
has something to latch onto. No, I feel that.
It also just is one of those things where, let's say player brings this and brings the bleed mechanic, DM's really open for it. If it directly states these things don't bleed, that's immediately letting the DM know, by the way, here's how you overcome this min-max.
Sure.
Because if someone chose this and you're like, cool, you're gonna make everything bleed, having a thing that strictly says these things don't bleed is like, oh, thank God, okay, I can throw some things at you that are gonna at least make you a challenge. Yes. But then they're gonna be like,
not anymore. No,
actually they're not. But that's the back and forth you need to have with those DMs, right? You need the DMs to understand that there's a limitation. So there is an updated version that is much clearer. Okay, cool. But here's my other aspect of this. With that being said, assume that it is a hard and fast these things don't bleed.
Sure.
I don't think it should be at third level.
I was going to say that.
Because honestly, this feels exactly like the other subclasses that get your weapons now become magical.
Yeah.
That is way too early. The fact that there is a limitation, the fact that undead don't bleed, the fact that constructs don't bleed, and the fact that the moment you become this thing, you can just pinpoint, like, I can totally understand that everything that can bleed, you can make bleed. Right. That's how you want to, you can look at a big bulking creature and guess what? You can most likely see a vein.
Yep.
Like you understand if you understand how a muscle moves, you understand where it's going to be most vulnerable. I totally get that. But I just do not believe that at the get-go, you can look at a machine and go, I can make your oil come out. You're not going to look at an ooze or a celestial and be like, I can make your energy. I can make your ooze. You know what I mean? Like that needs to be something that comes later. So I feel like, yes, knowing what things can't bleed makes more sense at what I can throw at them. But that also means that it should take some time for them to be able to overcome.
Sure.
Because otherwise, to be honest, if they can automatically, like the moment you become this, overcome the bleed mechanic, like the bleed immunity, to me, that means that there doesn't need to be a bleed immunity for this subclass. And therefore, it's more likely that the bleed condition should remain under this subclass and not even its own mechanic. You know what I mean? It's almost it takes away from it being even a necessity of the mechanic. So that would be my thing, is I would probably push this to at least level 6.
Okay.
Just like getting, magical weapons.
Sure.
Hecate has done a campaign with this subclass during playtesting, 2024 monsters are a bit tougher than 2014, so there is that to be to take into account. So having any extra ability to hurt is helpful, and doesn't hardcore take over early level. So again, I don't know that. Again, from a 14 to 24 standpoint, I cannot confirm or deny that.
I'm unfortunately not as familiar with 24 either.
But yeah, that's just my biggest thing though, is it feels like it's too early to give that, especially on a lore basis, to just have that much knowledge of anything. I feel like there just needs to be a division.
Sure.
But again, I see where we're going with it. Overall, by itself, I think it's great. I think it's worded well. I think that's the exact thing it needs. I just think it's too early. That's my only comment.
Okay. 2024 mindset.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. So knowing if you know if you know monsters in 2024, you probably can have a better a better judgment than we can.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to level 6, Scarlet Requiem. Your blade work becomes a deadly performance, drawing lifeblood from foes and setting the stage for Crimson Resonance, where their wounds become their downfall. Crimson Resonance. As a bonus action, you can spend 1 focus point to amplify the bleeding of a target within 15 feet. Their blood glows with an intense light and seems to tear at their own body, causing them to take double bleeding damage at the start of their next turn. You can use this ability up to your proficiency bonus per long rest. You also get Dance of Evasion. When you hit a creature with a dagger, you gain a +1 bonus to AC against that creature until the start of your next turn. This bonus stacks with each additional hit up to a maximum of a +6 AC. So it stacks equal to bleeding.
Yeah.
It sounds like. Because every time you hit him with a dagger, both things are going to happen.
So, real quick, for Crimson Resonance, bonus action, you can spend a focus point. So when I am causing them to take double damage, it's not instantly, it's going to be at the start of their next turn, but it affects them when I do this thing, right?
Yeah.
So
but it's up to a target up to 15 feet away, so they already have to have you already have to have given them the bleeding condition.
Sure.
It still has to be your turn.
Sure.
So you had to give them the bleeding condition on this round, and by the end of your turn, use your bonus action to inflict them from bleeding. So it may be one of those situations where you did your attacks.
Because by 6th level, you have multi-attack.
So yeah, so at this point, you may have done your attacks, moved away, and then before you've gotten too far away, you do this.
Right. So I'm assuming you're going to use the abilities that you have. All right. I hit you once. I hit you twice. You got 2 stacks of bleed on you. All right. Because I hit you with my dagger, I can move 5 feet away without provoking an opportunity attack.
Right.
And now I'm on my way out of the area, and I'm going to pop my Crimson Resonance to make sure that you take double damage. Now, is this anyone, or is this a specific target?
It's only amplifying the bleeding of a target.
So you have to choose a target.
Yeah, and they have to be bleeding. So it has to be someone.
But like, if I'm using my Crimson Dance, I can do 2 of those strikes and get 2 people bleeding. Can I get both of them to take double?
It just is a target, so I'm assuming it's a single target.
Okay, so if I have to choose a singular target within this thing, then it's smarter for me to give one person 2 things of bleed than 2 people 1 thing of bleed, right? So I'm going to double stack it, and then when you do, you're going to take double, which means you're going to take 4 dice of damage, or you're going to take the 2 dice and then double whatever the damage is, whichever.
So let me know how both of you, Hecate and Kage, let me know how you guys feel about this. I don't dislike it. We're too early for me to know whether or not it really feels out of place. I don't dislike it overall, but I am struggling with the distance aspect. Because with monks and everything, I always feel like it should be up close, right?
Sure.
So I'm just wondering, how would either of you feel of an alternative where it's a reaction? And honestly, I don't care about the focus point. I don't know how abundant or how important those are for action economy for a monk. So you can judge whether or not it needs the focus point. But sure. I'm wondering, as a reaction, you can amplify the bleeding of a target that you have just inflicted bleeding. So basically, if you're going through multiple targets at any point, you can be like, I attack you, move 5 feet, I attack you, use my reaction, double bleeding, move, attack you, I'm out. So in the middle of your multi-attack and your flurry of blows, right? If I do multi-attack, I get 2 attacks. Then I get flurry of blows, I get 2 attacks. But somewhere in there, I can flag my reaction and as kind of like a twisting of the blade.
Sure.
I'm inflicting bleeding, but specifically I'm going to make your bleeding worse in the middle of all of my attacks. So instead of using the action economy of a bonus action, what if it would, because even Hecate was talking about with 2014, monsters being more, difficult. What if it was using a reaction to just say, hey, during this chaotic attacks, one of my attacks is going to be double bleeding?
So my thought process initially is going to be DPS. So when I look at this right now, you are cutting my DPS in half by making me use my bonus action.
Just because double bleeding.
Because I cannot use my bonus action to do flurry of blows now.
Right.
I can't use my flurry of blows, which means it cuts in half the number of attacks I can do in a round. So there's no way that at 6th level, when I actually have the ability to get 4 stacks, I can't get 4 stacks anymore, right? If I want to use this ability.
Gotcha.
So I like the idea of having this use your reaction instead of your bonus action a lot.
So Hecate says that they did it as a bonus action to make it more costly, so that you have to choose how to use your bonus action, since monks rely more on a bonus action than they do on reactions.
And I do understand that, and that makes sense if this wasn't so tied to the actual damage output that you're doing as a monk, because it's just mathematically not valuable for you to do it. Because if I have the opportunity to do more, to put more stacks out, and that's on top of the damage that I'm doing with the actual bladed attack, all you're doing is doubling the damage that would already be output, which is half of what I could actually do. Less than half of what I could actually do.
Because normally at this point you do 2 attacks, and then if you use your bonus action to flurry blows, you do 2 more.
2 more attacks. 4 total stacks. Yeah.
If I only get 2 attacks and then use my bonus action to double the bleeding,
all I'm doubling is the bleeding, and I don't get the attack damage.
Right. So you are still getting you're getting the same bleeding effect for 2 less attacks. Yes. So even more so than, with that math, then I think my idea would be mathematically better to make a higher, like you said, DPS, because on a reaction, you still get 4 attacks, you still get 4 stacks of bleeding, but one of those is going to double.
And I would say the focus point is what needs to be costly. I would say...
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to go grab some more water while you explain.
The idea for me is you cause them to have, like, if I want to be like a damage output powerhouse, you make it limited on how often they can do that. But that's what this would enable you to do. Instead of cutting down on how much damage you can do, give them the opportunity to do that big damage, but make it cost. So like make it cost 2 focus points and a reaction. That way you can feel like, all right, this big guy needs to go down and he needs to go down now. So I'm going to use my focus points to do this big thing to him, to double the 4 stacks of bleed I've just put on him. And it would make it be even more valuable later when you can do more and more stacks, right? Later down the road, whenever you get to higher levels and stuff like that. So I really feel like it would be so beneficial to allow them to feel the flexibility of feeling powerful, but again, not too often. Because if I'm not mistaken, you get a number of focus points equal to your level, right?
So Hecate is saying that if during playtesting, using a reaction made it unbalanced on late game. Now, my biggest question is unbalanced. I mean, we're already looking at 68, and then you can double that. So I can see that that's still a lot of damage, right? But
sure.
Here's an alternative that I was thinking when I was grabbing some water. I kind of liked your idea of multiple focus points. So what if it was this? What if Crimson Resonance was still as an action or still as a reaction? Because I still think you're right. I still think ditching 2 full attacks and 2 potential stacks of bleeding doesn't equate for a good double damage, right? Like both of those are again, you're basically giving up attacks for the same bleeding.
Sure.
So what if it was, as a reaction, you can spend any number of focus points to increase your stacks beyond your max. So, or just, in general. So I could say I'm using so I'm going to do 2 attacks, multi-attack, 2 attacks with flurry of blows. I'm going to proc my reaction, and I'm going to spend 3 focus points. So I'm going to add 3 stacks of bleeding. And if done in this way, it can go over my max. So let's say I only got 4, but then I can do 3 focus points and add 3 more stacks. And then that goes over my normal max.
Okay.
So if you're able to do that way, you're still using the reaction. So late game, it's still really versatile, and early game, it's still versatile, but you're still using more focus points based on how many more stacks you want to do. So instead of just doubling it
now
and becoming too powerful late game,
sure,
adding stacks beyond your max. So if you're normal attacking at 6, but then you can burn a couple focus points with the reaction to go to 9.
Okay. I feel like if we're gonna do it that way, I might even be okay with 2 stacks per focus point.
Oh wow. Okay.
Just because
that's even more than I was thinking. But
now and I'm trying to balance it, because right now what I just suggested was basically being able to...
Okay, so one of the biggest reasons why it was unbalanced late game is we haven't gotten to it yet, which is its 11th level feature. So once we get to 11th level, cool. We'll understand why.
And that's next anyway. Did we talk about Dance of Evasion already?
Yeah. That's just whenever you hit them with it. Yeah. That one's totally fine. But because it's only with that one creature. So I'm just I'm thinking Crimson Resonance just doesn't math out. I would like an alternative to it. I would like to see it as a reaction. I don't mind it being tied to focus points, and I would like it to up the damage, but I really feel like taking away that bonus action is just... I don't see... Again, we don't know what happened during playtesting, but it just doesn't seem to flow, especially at 6th level. It seems to really just diverge how you use the character.
I can't imagine somebody looking at a scenario and being like, it is more advantageous for me to use Crimson Resonance instead of Flurry of Blows.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing right now, and that's why I would love to just say, as a reaction, spending focus points to increase the bleeding or increase the stacks, and it done this way can go over your max.
Sure.
Again, if you're at the BBEG and it's or just you're at the final thing and you just need to just inflict a little bit more damage.
At the end, it says you can use this ability a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. That's the limitation that you need. Like, even late game, if you get a big bomb, if I can only do it 4 times.
Yeah, 4 times, 4 to 6 times.
Yeah, which proficiency bonus at level 6? It's got to be a 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can only do this 3 times at level 6, like... If it's limited like that, I don't mind it not costing focus points,
right?
Because all I'm trying to do is make sure that you're not spamming this every 5 seconds, right? You know what I'm saying?
And that's why I didn't mind it being with focus points to just increase the stacks. But either way, yeah, I just feel like right now the bonus action I think is the hard part. It's just really without understanding more, and we'll get to level 11 here in just a second. It just I'm having a hard time seeing how that math works out as more beneficial early game. It just kind of feels like if this is a late game feature, it sucks to get it so early, because then I'm just waiting until it will become beneficial.
Sure.
But we'll see. Let's see what level 11 has, because this is what made it imbalanced to do the reaction. So at level 11, you get Scarlet Cascade. You can unleash a storm of deadly strikes in all directions as an action by spending 2 focus points. You create a 10-foot sphere of spinning daggers, so kind of a cloud of daggers, but around you.
Wild.
Forcing all creatures within range to make a dexterity saving throw. On a fail, the creature takes 6d4 slashing damage and gains 2 stacks of bleeding. On a successful save, a creature takes half damage and 1 stack of bleeding.
It's still only 1 creature.
Yeah, and then as a bonus action, I'm not really sure how this as a reaction would be any worse, because again, you only get as a reaction 1 focus point, 1 target. So that means that you'd get a whole bunch of targets, but you'd still only be able to target one of them.
And this says as an action, not as an attack action, which means you're doing this and foregoing your two your extra attack.
Can you pop that, Hecate, can you pop that into the chat for us real quick? So apparently there is a persistence update which was added to the 11th level. So that was also something. So that was something that will probably make this a little bit more. Because right now I don't see how that is. I don't see how that really makes it that much worse. So far. So this persistence update will probably, and again, just by the name of it, I'm assuming that means that this is gonna like be a lasting bleed. It's gonna stick with them.
Oh, okay.
So maybe doubling the damage is that idea of if this makes it stick with you and it's doing double, that's how it can exacerbate.
Interesting.
Okay, so lingering wounds. So at 11th level, you would get lingering wounds. Your bleed now persists. A creature with a bleed takes damage at the start of its turns until the effect ends. A creature or adjacent ally can use an action to make a wisdom medicine check against your bleed. On a success, all bleed stacks end. If a creature regains hit points from a spell or magical effect, the bleed stack ends immediately. Okay. So I'm confused then. Okay, so serrated, you'd have to use serrated edge to overcome. Serrated edge overcomes that.
Got you, because that's a general concept, not specific to. Okay.
Right. So using the serrated edge ability when you attack.
Then when does persistence come into effect? Is that just
so at 11th level? Your bleed effect now persists. So now at 11th level, whenever you inflict bleed, they are just going to bleed out unless someone heals them. Period.
Oh.
And if you happen,
and that's kind of what you were talking about.
And if you happen to use serrated edge, then it has to be magical healing.
Got you. Now, using serrated, isn't that like a passive? You're not using. There's no action economy tied to serrated edge.
I think it's yeah. I don't know how that really works because it just says your movements. So you cause targets to bleed with a dagger. So I guess that's just whenever you attack with a dagger, your daggers are serrated. And see that, yeah, and that's weird because it sounds like that would have to be because it said also like flurry of daggers like was a choice. I thought that was like
flurry of daggers is a choice. So flurry of daggers, what I'm assuming is replacing flurry of blows.
It is, and that's why I thought serrated edge was like I'm going to like you have to activate it. You're going to do it because otherwise, then again, that actually it doesn't matter because you're bleeding. They wouldn't be able to use this ability, right? They wouldn't be able to use a medicine check. Because if you're always using serrated edge, which always requires magical healing,
I think beginning the medicine check is for people that are bleeding, that are experiencing persistent bleeding that isn't from this subclass.
Okay.
So like it would be for other people.
That's very
yeah.
That's very It was clear in the update for serrated edge. So the updated serrated edge once per turn. When you hit a creature with a dagger, you can cause it to gain 1 stack of bleeding up to your maximum. At the start of the creature's next turn, the bleeding, they'll take bleeding damage for each stack. So serrated edge was a once per turn. So on multi-attack, one of them would be serrated. So if you attacked one of the people with serrated edge once per one of your attacks got with it, that one would then have to be magically healed. All other attacks would just be normal bleeding, and then would be able to use.
Wouldn't it be like because that one attack used the serrated edge? Like, doesn't it affect all the other attacks? Like you
only on that creature. I think it would only affect the one creature. So
if I attack
one
creature,
yes. Or if I attacked you twice. And said attack 1 serrated, attack 2 isn't, and I missed attack 1. Then you could use any kind of healing. But as long as the creature got hit with one of the serrated attacks, it would require magical healing.
Got you.
Okay, so that makes more sense there.
Clarification.
And so finally level 11 having some persistence, I'm fine with that. And then only the serrated edge would extend that. So with that being persistent, then honestly. Crimson Resonance can easily be balanced out as a reaction as long as you say that the double will only last 1 round, regardless of persistence. Like it will only double at the start of their next turn. So the start of the next turn they'll bleed double, but then persistence after that will only bleed normal.
Yeah. It's just a one instance of Is that what the idea was? That they thought that is that why it was overpowered? Because
I'm assuming the reason why it was overpowered is because if you can use it as a reaction to make someone bleed, but by level 11 bleed was persistent, that means that they're double bleeding every round indefinitely. So I could see why that seems like it would stack too much. But that's where I think it would just be easy to just make sure that persistent double bleed doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I do like the persistence. Persistence is actually a really good. Okay, so Hecate confirms that's why it got overpowered, is if you do double bleed with persistence.
Yeah.
So honestly, I would just say that the easiest way to fix that, because I still think that it's fine to do Crimson Resonance with as a reaction. I would just say that they take double damage only at the start of their next turn, or at the start of their next turn only.
Their next instance of bleed damage is doubled, or whatever the case
may be. You can even just say that. Yeah. Causing them to take double bleeding damage only at the next instance. Just something like that. And then that just means that next round they're going to take double bleeding, but after that they go back to normal bleeding. And I think that's fine. Because it does make them still want that healing that much sooner, but if they don't get it, they don't get it. But it won't be like forever. And then again, just being able to go back and use that as a reaction and keep them double. I mean, that's the other action economy. If you want someone to continue double bleeding, you have to keep going after them.
Yeah.
So as a monk, you could be attacking 5 different people, but if it's more important to make this one bleed, you have to,
especially if it's like a big tanky, maybe it's a barbarian and he can just like squirt blood for days because he's theoretically. Actually, that's interesting.
And they're resistant.
Would the barbarian take half bleed damage?
Probably. I would assume so.
Because theoretically, they're only resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage.
And do they get magical resistance? And so far, we haven't had our weapons become magical yet. So they would actually.
I do think that comes with the base class.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so there we go. Yeah. I think it does at by this point. So it was rough for Hecate's monsters when the barbarian was basically a grappler. It made the monsters useless and bleed out. So yeah, you just make someone bleed and someone just grapples and says, nope, you're just going to sit here and I'm going to squeeze you.
Just hang out, bro.
Yeah.
God bless America.
So yeah, I still think that Crimson Resonance could be done. I think there's ways that you could make it balanced. I feel like the bonus action is a little bit too heavy. Otherwise, Scarlet Cascade, again, I don't mind it. The 10-foot spear is totally fine. 64 slashing damage and 2 stacks of bleeding, or on a save they take half and 1 stack. I think that's actually pretty good. The persistence is nice. I don't mind it at level 11. I think that's about the time that I would want that to matter.
How often can I do this?
As an action by spending 2 focus points.
But I can do it every action.
Any action with 2 focus points.
Right, so as long as I have focus points.
Yeah.
See, I find it interesting that the other one was limited and this one isn't. Like the other one, I would be more fine if it was just limited to action points. This one, I feel like, should also be limited by number of uses, because you can regain your focus points throughout the day, taking short rests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you said you can only do this, because this is a bigger thing. This is a much bigger thing. Like, this is something I would expect you to only be able to do like 5 or 6 times a day, no matter how many focus points you can get.
Right. So this should be the proficiency bonus limit.
I would have switched the proficiency bonus limit on the last one and this one.
Okay. Gotcha.
On Crimson Resonance and
so make this one 2 focus points and infinite, but this one proficiency bonus limitation.
Proficiency bonus limitation, yeah.
Okay. It also makes me this one's also making me think too about what were we talking about earlier? The you can make things that can't bleed. Definitely now I'm starting to see the stacking. I definitely want that further than level 3. Maybe level 11 would be a little bit too late, but I think pushing this up to level 6, the like undead and constructs can now bleed. Sure. I still feel like, especially with the Scarlet Cascade, this is now the time that I feel like I should be learning something like that. So maybe level 6, maybe level 11, but you know what I mean? Like, still it makes me feel like
I wouldn't mind it at level 11, but I can see an argument for level 6 too.
I feel like there needs to be a time when there are things they still can't do it on. You know what I mean? There needs to be like a separation. Let's see. And then so level 17, Scarlet Crescendo. You perform an intricate, deadly dance of blades that carves through all who dare stand near you. As an action, you can spend 2 focus points to activate the ability, creating a 10-foot radius sphere of spinning daggers centered on you. The sphere moves with you for 1 minute or until you are unable to move, such as being grappled or restrained. While the sphere is active, any creature of your choice that starts its turn within the sphere must make a dexterity saving throw, so not your allies. On a failed save, the creature takes 12d4 slashing damage and gains 4 bleed stacks. On success, it takes half damage and 2 bleed stacks. Additionally, Creatures within the sphere that have the bleed stacks take damage from those stacks at the start of each of your turns. Dance of Blades. While the sphere is active, whenever you move within 5 feet of a creature for the first time on your turn or as part of your movement, you can make one dagger attack against that creature, no action required. You cannot attack the same creature more than once in this way. There's a lot to break down there. Let's talk about the first part. So, 2 focus points and an action. You basically recreate your Scarlet Cascade at 10 feet, but this time it's going to last for a minute. It's going to move with you. While it's active, anyone that starts their turn within it has to make a dexterity saving throw. It's 12d4 with 4 bleed stacks or half. And this is this is the capstone, right? This is what's supposed to make them complete.
Again, how many times a day can I do this?
As many as you have focus points. You can just do this as long as you have 2 focus points to spare.
Like, I want to say once per long rest, once per short rest. Running around this thing every combat for a minute? No, bro.
Basically, for the whole combat.
And all you have to do is keep moving? Nah, bro. There's so many scenarios where you're just gonna have this up all the time.
And then the super speed.
You're gonna be a Beyblade. You're just gonna be running around the battlefield the whole freaking time.
This is, I think, why
you're gonna have stupid
Hecate, I think you lied to us. I think this is why it was too difficult at late games. So here's what I'm thinking. I feel like there's a way that would make this more palatable, especially for you, in terms of this. What if it was 4d12? So 4d12, 1 bleed stack, and 1 round per focus point spent. So basically at 17th level, if I spend 1 focus point in an action, I can put this up further until the start of my next turn. It does 4d12 and gives 1 stack. If I do 2 focus points, double that. So it's 8d12 and 2 stacks. If I do 3 focus points, it's 12d12 or 12d4 and 3 stacks. If I put 4 focus points, it just keeps going. But at that point, it's literally, yes, you could do it every combat, but you're only going to get a max. I mean, how many focus points can you have?
I think it's as many as your level. So I think you'll eventually get up to 20.
So, well, okay. So at that point, yeah, even there, you basically have it the entire combat at that point. Because you could just burn 10 of these and basically have this thing infinitely. Even if you were doing 1, and then it would just be infinitely up there. So in the update, it was put to once per short rest, and it costs 5 focus points. How do you feel about that?
I love once per short rest, and I'm totally fine with 5 focus points. It's kind of a lot, but you have a lot at this time.
You have 17 at that point.
Yeah, let me double check.
But it still lasts for a minute.
I don't know. Wait, still lasts?
It still lasts for a minute.
That's fine. That's fine. With the once per short rest, and
that's still basically once per combat, unless you're like, really trudging.
Depending on how DMs are when it comes to short rests, like I'm not giving you a short rest after every combat.
So in the playtest, it never lasted more than 2 turns because enemies were always able to restrain or grapple them. That sounds very situational, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
a single playtest is,
especially as a monk, you don't got like a high dexterity to avoid being grappled.
I'm just saying that I would say that would require more playtests against more types of enemies. This you
eventually get 20 key points.
Yeah, it just seems like this is going to be one of those things where I think having it, like, again, this is, and especially because it's anyone of your choice, there's no reason not to immediately turn this on every combat.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason not to, because even if it doesn't last more than 2 rounds, like, that wouldn't have mattered.
And I'll just pump it out again.
Right. You should, and that's the other thing too. Why, even if you can't keep it up for more than 2 rounds, you're still keeping it up for 2 rounds every 2 rounds.
2 rounds for 2 focus points. I mean, for the potential of more than 2 for the potential of more benefit than just the 2 focus points. Like, that's already worth the risk 90% of the time. I like the I like the update. I like the once per short rest. I like the 5 focus points because you're not going to be able to do it like a bunch. And again, it's really up to, because there are some DMs that just give out short rests like candy. If you literally just have 2 hours to kill, you can short rest and we don't care. You know, like you can do that as much as you want. And then people like monks and warlocks just get their resources back like forever. And you know, that's fine. There's plenty of people that want to like play resource heavy, so you can actually feel like you can use your abilities and stuff like that. And that'll be for those people that want to play like that. But
I think I know how I would handle this, because I'm having a hard time really like like balancing this out. I think what I would do for level 17 is, instead of trying to make this its own ability, I think what I would do is just increase all of the abilities that we've got so far, because we still have Dance the Blades, which is interesting. But for right now, instead of trying to make this like a secondary attack, because once you do Scarlet Shindo, I guess you could also still do Scarlet Cascade. So that's also a really weird situation where you could do these double cloud of daggers effect. So here's what I'm thinking is, at level 17, what I would like is if we just had everything double down to where, like when you use Crimson Resonance, you can make an additional target double blade, right? Cool. So now it's 2 targets. And then what I would also do is say, when you use Scarlet Cascade, then that's when this just doubles up, right? When you use Scarlet Cascade, you can bump it up. You can use 5 instead of 2, and then it bumps all of the stats, right? Because it's basically just a double. So just say, when using Scarlet Cascade, you can choose to use 5 points instead of 2, and you will do 12d4 and 4 stacks of bleed.
Sure.
Instead of trying to make it its own thing. And honestly, I don't necessarily think it needs to do more than a minute, because at that point, you would just use Scarlet Cascade just more often, right?
Right.
And it's still at 5 focus points. I mean, you're still going to be able to use that, 4 times at max? Yeah. Still think that would be more than enough than trying to have it last the whole time, especially if even in playtesting, it wasn't able to last that long. Then just keep it there, because I think like what I would... Oh, and here was the other thing that I wanted to add too. Another bonus that I would do is Dance of Evasion, not Dance of Evasion, but Dancer's Grace increases by 5 feet. That's the only thing that should happen. Yeah. So at level 11, Dancer's Grace increases to 10 feet. So whenever you inflict the bleeding condition, you can move 10 feet.
Sure.
Then you also increase Scarlet Resonance to 2 targets that can do double bleeding instead of 1. And then Scarlet Cascade doubles in damage and in effect if you go up to 5 instead of 2. Sure. So that way, you're basically just coming full circle and saying everything you've been able to learn up until this point gets better. And now it kind of goes in line with the name too, the Scarlet Crescendo, right? At this point, you were literally attacking, jump into this enemy, attacking, jump into that enemy, attacking. Both of those two now have double bleed, jump into this enemy, attacking, and then coming back through with your little cloud of daggers that you can literally just run back through because you still have all your movement kind of thing.
Sure.
So those are the kind of things that I would be looking for in this. And that's where I feel like this would, the final capstone, again, it almost feels too much right now, but I feel like going back to everything and just bumping it all up would really give the character just now more opportunities to use it.
Sure.
So
I do kind of like the idea of the upgrades. I still kind of like the idea of what they're doing here, and I think you could use that as an upgrade for it. You know, you could just be like, hey, if you spend 5 points on your what was it? Not the crescendo, the one before that.
Cascade.
The cascade. If you use 5 points to cast your cascade, it can do this new upgraded thing that this is, and then everything else that you're talking about, being able to increase your movement as you get out of there, being able to choose another target for the double bleed. Like, I think all of that stuff is possible to do with that as well, because I like the big damage. I like the fact that you can hold it up for longer, you know, like just like what this can do. That's great, you know. I do think it should be limited, and I'm again okay. I might even make it a long rest instead of a short rest.
Because my only thing is just when it comes to the rests and everything, if you aren't getting combat back to back, this basically with that 1 minute timer is gonna be an opportunity to just constantly spam.
I've seen this in 5th edition a lot, where people are dungeon diving and they'll go from room to room and get in and out of combat, in and out of combat.
That's true.
Out of combat, in and out of combat. So they're like going from room to room. Hey, what room are you gonna go into? You pop into this room. Oh, guess there's skeletons in this room. You're in combat now.
And they don't want to waste time, so they're like, let's just go one more room.
Exactly.
And there are definitely opportunities where you won't get it to refresh that much. It's just again being able to I don't know, like as long as I mean, we know that in Hecate's playtest, it didn't last very long, right?
Sure.
Having if it's that particular case where it's easily countered, then once per short rest is fine. My biggest thing is when it's once per short rest, is it going to be more often than not that once this thing goes up, it's kind of a steamroll situation? Is it going to just put out so much damage?
I think it's just
because 1 minute, anybody that starts their turn of your choice makes the deck save, and it's the 12d4 and 4 stacks.
Okay, so maybe my brain might not have fully grasped what's happening. Are we saying that 12d4 is the damage for every single time for the entire minute?
Yeah, it's every time you like. So basically, at the start of a creature's turn, if you say you started in my field, you're taking this damage. If you fail your deck save, it's 12d4, and you're getting 4 stacks. So at this point, you can have 6 stacks. So you get hit twice, you're at full 6 stacks of bleeding. So you're taking the damage, and then you're taking that bleeding damage at the start of your turn as well.
Okay, so
and if you've already been bleeding, I think it's worth. Additionally, creatures within the sphere that have the bleed stacks take damage from those stacks at the start of your turn. So if you're in my bubble and I hit you, you're taking the 12d4 plus 4 stacks. Then if you start your turn again, you're going to take the bleed damage, and then on my turn, you're going to take the bleed damage.
All right. So number one, I think that's going to be really hard to keep track of for a lot of things. I think that the way that I was initially thinking of this, and I don't know why it went into my head this way, but I was thinking the initial casting of this is what did the 12d4, and I was like, that's cool. You do this explosion of daggers out. Anybody that's within this range has to make a dexterity saving throw and takes this 12d4 or half as much, whatever.
Gotcha.
That's it. Then this cloud persists for a minute. Now, initially, I just thought that you would just keep taking the bleed damage. Everybody that's inside here, you can't lose like your stacks of bleed while you're inside here, because you're constantly being cut by these daggers, and so your bleed is like permanently attached to you.
Okay.
And anytime you like enter into it for the first time, then you will get your stacks of bleed going in.
Interesting. I didn't think about interpreting it in that way. So right. And that's where I'm just thinking like that, I don't mind this level of damage, but that's why I'm thinking just say that you can now put 3 more, focus points into Cascade and double it, because that gives you the 12d4. It gives you the 4 stacks of bleeding, and it's still the 10 foot. It's just a one-time instead of persistent. Like, I just think that my biggest issue is the persistence. I don't mind the burst, right? And so being able to just say, hey, anytime you put 3 more focus points into Cascade, boom, you just double everything. That, I feel, is better, again, along with being able to go 10 feet whenever you inflict bleed.
Sure.
And along with being able to inflict double bleed on a second target.
Sure.
I think those are all, finding, I mean, hell, you can even really, if you want, even boost Dance of Evasion, and you get 2 to AC when you make a target bleed. Like, again, that getting 2 to bonus to AC against a target that's bleeding, and you can inflict Crimson Resonance, which is you can make 2 targets bleed. That's 2 people that you now have bonus AC against.
Sure.
Like, that's the kind of stuff that I would like to see at the capstone that makes this feel more like you're just getting better at the things you can do instead of having this newer ability that's just basically an upgrade of your previous ability, and it lasts, I think, just too long. So that was where my interpretation of it came in.
Yeah.
It's just, I was kind of thinking that all of these things are so great as they are, but imagine if they were, again, imagine just being able to jump 10 feet just because I made you bleed. And then I can do that again to someone else. And then I can do that again to someone else. Then I can do that again to someone else. And then I can use my reaction or my bonus action to say, hey, by the way, those two are double bleed. Like, just that constant movement. And that's what monks are all about, right? Move, damage, move, damage. I mean, you know, you're basically take the fighter and get Axe in Church. This thing's already insane. And then you take Rogue with backstab. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much good here that I feel like this capstone's kind of being wasted on just this one big movement that's supposed to last too long. I really think that it deserved to just be reinitialized. I do like this thing though. I did like that, like, you know, whenever you move, you know, close to somebody, you're able to make like a single dagger attack. That's, you know, during that 1 minute while the pound's around you.
Okay.
So that isn't, you know.
Okay. What about if basically what you were talking about when it comes to the upgrade of the other ability,
right?
It is literally just an upgrade. You get the double, you get all that other stuff.
The one time.
But the aura lasts for a minute.
And then this is the only thing that happens.
And that's what you get, and you can't lose the bleed condition while you're inside there.
Okay. Those two things would be fine, actually. Yeah, if you could basically, whenever you come within, you know, 5 feet of a creature for the first time, you get a free dagger attack.
Yep.
And which would hopefully give them the bleed condition. And as long as they stay within the radius, they can't lose the bleed condition.
Yep.
That's fucking amazing, because even a creature that could magically heal itself will still continue to bleed every single round. I would love that. Like, honestly, yeah. Give everything an upgrade, and then just do this for a minute. Plus you can't lose bleed. Hell, I would even let this aura go up to 15 feet at that point instead of 10.
Actually, yeah.
I would totally let that be 15 feet, and that would still be amazing, because anything within 15 feet, because you're not going to.
And that initial explosion is up to 15 feet too.
Exactly. So
I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that.
That's 100% what I would do on this. Is just boost everything. You know, give it to the point to where Dancer can go 10 feet now. Give Flurry of Blows a third hit. You know, if you use Flurry of Daggers, get a third strike. You know, Crimson Resonance, now you get a second target. Dance of Evasion, you get an extra AC. And then Crimson, everything doubles, but then you get the 1 minute of Dancing of Blades, which is for 1 minute in a 15-foot radius. You get a free attack, and the bleed condition can't be removed. That would make this thing feel devastating.
Yeah.
So there's your alternatives. Take them or leave them. You know how it works. We're just here to make you think and make you feel good about what you've chosen. But I think this thing is really cool. This is the kind of monk that I want. These are the kind of conditions I want to see that come along with these new subclasses. I think this is fantastic. There's definitely a few things that I would change in order to make it work with High Point, but this is easily an 8. Like, this is so fucking close.
I love it. Like, and I really think Bleed needs to, like, I want to just take this mechanic so badly. I
have a Bleed mechanic, and I kind of like, I've always struggled with the stacking part.
Sure.
And I think that this is working.
Yeah.
I think that this is a good way to do it.
I totally do.
Because my stacking was usually like, Bleed is usually persistent until you take care of it.
Sure.
Especially the worse it is. The severity of bleed in High Point is based on the D. So a D4 is basically an easy cut that you can bandage, and you'll be fine. You know, a D6 is something that you'll need like ointment for, and like a good suit, like not suture, but you'll need a good strong bandage.
Sure.
A D8 you probably need stitches, and a D10 you need like someone with medical help. Like if you're bleeding at a D10, you need like cauterization, sewing, and
that means you roll a new D10 every time.
Yeah, you're losing a D10 of damage every so
turn.
often.
Yeah.
And so, you know, whether it's a turn or round, it depends on that. But yeah, usually that's how I did it. And then like the stacking was usually just a plus value.
Sure.
Like a +1, +2 to the added effect, because it's the persistent effect, or until you get, you know.
But the stacking wasn't like an entirely additional die.
Well, no, it would just be like D4 +1, D4 +2. Gotcha. And then I like a little bit better just because wounds don't, you know, grow exponentially. They don't double in size. So that was kind of my way of doing it. But I really like this especially in a in a fifth edition mindset.
Sure.
Outside of the little bit of what I would consider an imbalance in some of the abilities, other than that, it's really just, again, some of the verbiage and some of the way that I would interpret the abilities. But this is awesome. I would want to play this. I would definitely like to see this in a game, and I want that bleed mechanic to be out there. I really want people to utilize bleed mechanics more.
Sure.
So thank you, Hecate, for that. That was awesome.
No,
I hope you all enjoyed
cool.
the review. But yeah, there it is. There is the Way of the Scarlet Dance. I really like it. I wouldn't even mind maybe changing some of the verbiage to just say, like, I don't know, like maybe change it to finesse weapons only instead of specifically daggers, because then you can kind of open it up to other things. Again, I might even do things that are like, you know, performance based weapons, like, you know, like the fan or like you know, symbols or things like that, like just something that would look like an instrument or look like something that you would use. You know, even oh man, fire sticks, like a fire eater,
right?
But you could use like fire batons. Like there would
be wild.
There'd be some ways that I would really mess with this. So yeah, I mean, 8 out of 10 definitely has a lot of potential, but it's hitting a lot of marks. So thank you so much for submitting this. This was really awesome. I really like this.
Absolutely. No, I'm a huge fan, and I know that it's definitely challenging for me not knowing as much about 2024 and how much that changes things. It is hard for me to recognize how significantly this rule set change adjusts the balance of all things, right? Because you know, when I'm looking at, you know, what feels balanced or imbalanced, and everything in 2024 feels like it turns it on the head, and it's like, no, it's fully differently balanced because of everything that 2024 brings to the table, you know.
And this is why I don't bother with being that specific. I look at it from a point of view of, how does it feel? What is the effort that I would have to go through to make it? Like, I don't need to know the specific monsters to understand, like, okay, I know what a party of 6 looks like and I know what you can do. So it doesn't take me much to understand the scale of a monster. Like, if you can put out 12d4 on any enemy that starts their turn inside of a minute.
Sure.
I don't have to do much math to know how strong a creature has to be to last, you know.
And I'll also say this, even if it is just for the grappling mechanics, like Hecate is talking about, I will say a lot of that has to do with the DM. Is the DM pulling out monsters in the monster manual? Yeah, they have those abilities, but is he out here just to counter you, just to stop you from? Is he out here to pull out the anti-stun creatures? Because there's plenty of people that are immune to being stunned. Why don't I just pull out all of those creatures to stop you from being able to? And that's
why that's what where my comment of, I would not necessarily put the undead and warforged and constructs in the 3rd level, because I'd want some struggle to be able to know I can throw a warforged at you for early rounds, but eventually those aren't going to be scary. And that's the kind of challenge as a DM
you'll be able to overcome it.
Right. But immediately giving me nothing to overcome, because basically that just basically says that, by the way, once you choose the subclass, you've overcome this challenge period.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, but the subclass should get there. It should always get there, but this one's kind of a give me out the gate, and I'm just like, nah, I'd still like to work up to having to learn how to go against undead and make them quote unquote bleed, right?
Yeah.
So that's just, you know, I like the struggle. I like having that tied into the development.
And Hecate, if you could do me a flavor in the submissions channel, send me the updated version with some of those additional pieces.
So we can publish it.
I would love to take a look at that, because I definitely had the bleed mechanic, and I don't know how that didn't make it in there, because I normally link those like I did for the permafrosted. But I don't have some of those other some of that other updated information, so I'd love to take a gander.
But yeah, no, that was really dope.
Yeah, super cool.
We've gotten some smashed ones like recently. Like, we've gotten some fire submissions recently.
Dude, it has been going off over here, and I love the inspiration that it's putting in my mind for so many different things. You know, like being able to, it's what I love about being a DM, because every time I have my players in my world is being developed as they go and they interact with it and they find things that they like and they touch it and they like bring it to life in the world. And I get to do the same thing when I'm out here interacting with your guys' stuff. It's bringing so many things to life that I can now take and implement and put. And so this is very cool. I love what we get to do here and how we get to make it look very cool.
That's the other reason why I prefer not to be too bogged down by, what this is designed to go against. Like, I know it's meant for 2024, and there's a lot to be inferred by that, right? Like knowing what kind of monsters a DM would pull by the book, but that's not how I DM, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I don't want to approach it with that mindset of, because to me, that's basically saying like, so it's scripted. You choose this because here's the monsters you're going to go after. But for me, because it's not how I play, I want to look at this from the point of view of the story, the narrative, and the actual gameplay, not so much the hardcore mechanics of it.
For sure.
Right? Like I want to, if you're going to able to do that much damage, again, maybe it's just my disconnect if I don't necessarily look at those as fun games when a single attack does 200 points of damage. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what kind of game are we playing when you could annihilate a small village with one attack? And I mean, think about that. A small village of 1,000 people and your attacks do 300 per swing and you have 5 attacks. You could essentially demolish a town with your fists. And it's like, I know that we're, again, superhero simulator. That's what 5e very much seems like. And for me, I always try to approach it from the point of view of, how does it make sense? How does it feel to play it? And can I craft a good narrative that makes it feel good? Or is it just, do I have to be more focused on what I throw at you to make it a challenge?
Sure.
And that's where I like how, we do this, because I think that's unique, right? I think that there's plenty of people online that you can go and get advice from on the 5e mechanical side. Like, this is how 5e wants you to put it together. This is the best way to put together a combat, but that's not what I'm here for, right?
Sure.
I'm here for that idea of trying to figure out, what is that more classical TTRPG feel that, that I can. So,
okay.
Yeah, I like that there's, there's a little bit of discourse of that. I don't necessarily want everybody to always agree with our opinions.
Sure.
Right? Like,
facts, big facts.
It's kind of one of those whole points of I want people to have their own ideas and be comfortable with those.
Sure. Absolutely.
Let's see. Hecate says that they will say that the campaign that this was in played in a spider campaign with driders and matrons. Okay. Interesting. So yeah, I'm not sure how that would drastically affect gameplay, but again, it also depends on the party cohesion. That's another thing that I think is also overlooked in 5th edition creations, and it's just something that is harder to take into account. But again, it's the joke that, do you really think, like, everyone says, why would I go with something homebrewed when the published version was obviously play tested? It's like, do you really think that when they make a new subclass, they play test it with every subclass currently known? And that's the thing, is like, when we're creating homebrew, I think a lot of the times the goal is to solve a problem that we see. But I will say that the hardest challenge in homebrew, especially with something like 5th edition, is not accounting for the collective party build, because not many gaming groups think that way, right? Like, they have session zeros, but that's more for the RP. Not a lot of people really come together to either understand what kind of things they'll be facing and then build their characters to balance each other out.
Sure.
A lot of the times the characters are for no negative meaning, but they're chosen for selfish reasons. Someone who finally wants to play a sorcerer, or they have this really cool idea for a rogue, or they just want to play a barbarian because they're tired of casting spells. Like, more often than not, groups aren't put together to play a role. They are there to play a character, role play.
Sure.
And that's a topic that I talked about a lot, but that's where I think what I try to change in terms of the discussion in 5th edition D&D is, let's talk more about the role you play, not the character that you're role playing. Because a lot of the times people are like, but we do session zero and we, we're all cohesive. It's like, but like, does it make sense for the game you're about to play, right? If like, I'm not saying that, you have to know every enemy that you're going after, but it's the same thing of like knowing whether you're in a cyberpunk world versus a steampunk world.
Sure.
Drastically matter to the kind of characters you create. If you're going to be in a campaign that's high on the Fae side, you might want to reconsider like how your team is structured, right? Because you're probably going to want a magical healer if you're going into the Fae.
Sure.
Whereas if you're going to do more of like a war-torn campaign or a traveling campaign, you may want someone who can forage and who can do herbalism, right? Those are the things that I mean, right? A lot of the times people pick their characters and at session 0, it's more about the RP aspect. But realistically, a lot of it is understanding like, hey, DM, what kind of world are we walking into? Is it a world where we are going to constantly be in urban environments? Like, how many times have you heard the tragic story of someone finally being like, no, I want to play a fucking druid, and the entire campaign's underground?
Sure.
And so they're just like, what the fuck? I wanted to play this druid. You know I was playing a druid. Why did you put us underground? And then my question is also, why didn't you ask the DM what kind of fucking game this was? If you would have talked to the DM and said, hey, DM, what kind of game? He's like, oh, it's entirely a dungeon. It's a 100-level dungeon. We're just going to fucking do it. Well, you probably wouldn't have chosen the bright and shiny, moon druid who never sees the stars.
Sure.
And wants to RP that, but you're like, but I'm always inside and I don't have any dirt around. It's like, but did you understand what you were getting into? And this is what I mean by like, people always say, but there's session 0, and it's like, session 0 is always not always enough, because more often than not, things are brought to session 0. Things aren't created at session 0.
Sure.
And that's where I think the biggest discourse, and I find this on TikTok a lot, is, people always say like, isn't that what session 0 is for, is to get to know everybody? It's like, the problem is whether or not you bring things to session 0 or you walk away with them.
Right.
Like, with me, you were walking away with your character at session 0. We are figuring out what, where, when, and how.
I will say I can come to session 0 with like ideas and what I want, but we're gonna hash those ideas.
We're gonna roll it. We're gonna choose it.
Looks like together.
But the idea that 5 people come over and they already have everything done, like they have their characters chosen, is just something that's not really, to me, an appropriate session 0, because all you're doing is introducing a bunch of random people, not just to each other, but to the game. And that's the other thing, is like, more often than not, I've heard the stories where they'll be like, hey, DM, can I run this, or can I use this source? But again, I rarely hear about the DM talking to the players about the type of setting, the world, and the kind of things they'll be running into, in order for them to be like, hey, here's what's going on. I mean, how many times have you heard of, like, you've heard the question from the players of, hey, can I use a source book? Or, hey, can I use the subclass? Or, hey, can I use this, spell kit or whatever? Sure. But how often is it a, hey, DM, do we have a healer yet? Hey, DM, in this setting, is it more like herbalism, or is it more like clerical magical healing? Hey, DM, do we have a tank yet? Hey, DM, do we have someone who can talk to people yet? How many of those questions have you ever, like, and I don't mean you as like a DM, but out there in social media, out there, in all of the places that people talk about the best and worst games, how often, this has to be my this has to be my TikTok for tomorrow.
Wild.
But realistically, how many times are the players asking those questions? The questions that reflect the game and the group. More often than not, it's about what they can do. And then the DM has to make it all make sense.
Sure.
But instead of the DM saying, hey, we're going to be doing a dungeon heavy urban environment, little travel game. You are going to be in a major city. All of the ruins are underneath the city. And the only time you're going to leave is later in the game, when you're going to go to a different city and there's going to be ruins in that city.
Sure.
That should be the bare minimum prep a DM can do to let you all know what kind of stuff you're going to be doing, right?
Okay.
If you're going to be in a Fae heavy setting, you might want to be like, yeah, so you're probably going to be up against things that aren't normally what mortals deal with. So there's not going to be a lot of like, herbalism checks. There's going to be more like, you're going to need potions and health spells.
Sure.
Like, those are the kind of metagaming hints that you can give your players to help them build a better party, right? But if no one's asking those questions, then you're going to run into those campaigns that just, it's a lot of work on the DM to either keep you alive long enough to be entertaining, because you can kill them whenever you want, but it's like, I want you to be alive long enough to be entertaining, but if none of you chose to be healers, how do I make that entertaining that you guys can't heal yourselves in a campaign I specifically designed for you to at least have one cleric?
Sure.
But if you don't have a cleric, but again, if I designed it to where you have to have a cleric, but none of you chose a cleric or a paladin, but you have a druid who chose herbalism, and it's like, well, this game doesn't have any plants and herbalism, and it doesn't have any like, now I have to create an apothecary that basically serves as the one-stop shop for this problem that was created because nobody wanted to play the roles.
Interact with the...
That's where, I have a big thing about session zeros. I don't think are used properly as much. And I think, again, because of what I like to call, player entitlement of wanting to know everything. Like, players need to just be able to know everything from start to finish. They need to, they're mad if you don't use the book because it's not what they know. Like, oh, this creature's weak to this. Well, not mine. That's not fair. That's not what the book says. It's like, so it's not about what your player would know. We're not about what the world says. It's simply that you wanted to be prepared for this. You wanted to have that, what is that, level 20 DM?
Yeah,
like you wanted that game where
metagaming. It's metagaming. It's you knowing about the world that you don't know about.
And it's you wanting to be able to one up me. You want me to do the moment where I'm like, and this giant blah, blah, blah comes in and you're like, we're done. Like, you don't want that. Like, that's what people, I think, want more often than not, is the DM to struggle coming up with an idea and them not... Like, there's some great players out there and some great groups that do that. Like they just love every last thing the DM throws at them, and they are psyched about it. I love those groups, right? But there are far too many groups out there who want those moments where they just want to have thought this through so much that when that moment happens, they are going to shine. And it's like, I feel that so many people are, it's not even like main hero syndrome. I think that so many people are driven by this idea that because you had to put so much work into creating the best character that you have to design, you basically have to script a moment that will make your character stand out. And I feel that, honestly, in almost every professional or amateur game I've ever been part of or watched, those shine out moments, those moments that like everyone remembers, very rarely are they ever involving a single person. You know what I mean? Like, more often than not, it's a group effort and a group collaborative of creativity that makes it.
An accident. They're not the ones that you're trying to do. They're the ones where you're doing the stupid thing, or you're doing the thing that, like, and it just happens to be like,
it's only in that moment that these things would have aligned, or you do something so out of fucking pocket that you never would have thought. Like you picked up your buddy's weapon, but because you've never done that before, something else. Like, that's the thing, is the moments are never scripted. All of those things that we see on YouTube and TikTok where it's like, you know what? Nope, you're not going to do that, DM. Nope, I've already thought about that, DM. Nope, it's like just that concept of you want to nope your DM. It's like, what are you doing? They are supposed to be the ones challenging you, not the other way around. The fact that the players have become the challenge is like, why? What is the DM there for? Other than to just, be subservient to the superhero. I don't know. It's just such a weird dichotomy when you're no longer both telling a story, but you're basically just saying, I've thought through and I know more than your own game. Because at that point, why aren't you the DM? Like, you have those players who go out of their way to know so much more about the game than the DM, but they can't tell a good story. But they'll sit there and just want to shit on every chance they get because they've already learned the game, like you said, metagamed it to their, you can't throw any creature at me that I won't instantly kill because I've perfectly min-maxed the character. So you run the game then. Here, you've won the game. You are the strongest creature. Why don't you run the game?
Sure.
Like, that's exactly. You know what I mean? Like, it's just weird to me that you would want to play with somebody just so you could tell them that you know this game better.
Right.
It's a very strange understanding.
The dynamic of wanting to enter into a chess match with an opponent, a strong opponent. And I get the idea of wanting to enter in a chess match with 4 of your buddies against one person that has, like, I get that, wanting that dynamic, but and being able to, like, have, like, a plan to be able to outthink the other person, right? And so sometimes outthinking them means they don't know exactly what you're thinking, but you're all thinking along the same lines. And I think that a lot of the times these people, they'll try to do something that they think is really clever, and they're like, oh yes, I get to do this really clever thing, and then it turns out to not get to go off the way they wanted to.
Yeah.
And then they feel bad, and so now they're trying to make it go off the way they wanted to. And I'm like, okay, yes, I get it, but you had to recognize that now there are DMs out here that are like this, and this is where the balance comes from. There are DMs out there that are the kid that when you were playing Imagination, when you were super little, they always had a counter to everything you ever threw at them. Oh, I have an anti-laser shield. Oh, you have a claw. Well, I have a stone skin. Or,
yeah.
They just want to nope all of your fun.
Right.
And like that stuff feels bad too. So it's like a lot of those people who are saying, no, that's not what the rule says, are trying to counter those kids that are just being the DMs that are like, everything I say goes and I get to win because I win.
There are bad players on both sides. There are bad DMs and
like,
there are bad players.
It's that nonstop mentality. But when you get there and it's actually collaborative, yes, you're playing versus each other, but you're still playing with each other.
Yeah.
Right? It's like when you go versus each other in a video game, or when you're you're always trying to, both of you guys are trying to be a part of.
So you know what it is
is
I said scripted earlier, and that still kind of follows true. I think, there's still things that people script, because again, when you know everything, when you choose a subclass and everything's there in front of you, you can't help but be like, okay, well, this will best happen in this situation. So if this happens, I know, like, you can't help but put together the shit you're going to do when you know everything you can do at certain levels, right?
Sure.
But instead of calling it scripted, it's almost like what video games did to combos. Back in the day, combos were a series of effective combination of hits, right? Back in early Street Fighter, most combos weren't like a programmed in thing. There wasn't like a programmed combo. There was just a combo that was very effective because of the game, how it was programmed.
Yes.
It wasn't like the game knew that,
once you push A plus B plus bleed.
Yeah, it's not like it did a combo because you push these buttons. It was because each button corresponded to the right hit, but if you push them in the right order at the right time, the game was programmed to go faster because these two hits, animations would cycle faster, right? But that turned into strategically programmed combos. Like, if you've ever looked at a modern Street Fighter game, opened up the combo list, it's literally you just fucking scroll for I remember back in the day, every character had like 8 combos. There was like their supers, there was like, their like special abilities, their super abilities, and then it was like 2 main, like, you could do like a double punch, like you could do like punch 3 times and they'll do like an extra one. But beyond that, every other combo was just learning how to be effective with that character, right? What actual combinations worked. Nowadays, it's memorization of combos. It's knowing it's back, forward, up, down, forward, punch, kick, punch. That's the move that will make them do this 20 hit combo when you only hit 8 buttons. Whereas back in the day, it was I know that if I do this series of punches, then a kick, and this series of punches, I can stun lock you. Not because that's what the game was programmed to do, but because I can overcome the programming of the game.
Yes.
And that's how I feel that's what happened to this idea of subclasses in 5th edition it's that taken to the next extreme. I've chosen this character, now let me memorize all of their combos. So when I see you do that, when I know that this combo is good against these lists of characters, when I see you pick that character, I know what combos I'm doing this fight.
Sure.
When I see that you're about to do this move, I know the combos that I have to do because I've memorized them, and I've memorized when they're the most effective. And that is modern day gaming. You know what I mean? Like, everything in modern day gaming is learn what the meta is and then reproduce it when you know it needs to be. And I'm not saying that is a bad way to game, but I do feel like that is a main driver as to why, specifically with D&D, but a lot of TTRPG area, a lot of the TTRPG community, but mostly D&D, especially 5th edition, has gone away from the much larger collaborative storytelling and much more into this idea of much more of a linear story that you're going along, and then you're waiting for these moments, right? Because even Street Fighter has a story. Technically, every time you're playing a character, you're going through the world tournament and going to different locations, but if you think about it, you don't really have to pay attention to the story to beat Street Fighter.
True.
You could be really into it, but does it change the movesets you have? Does listening to the dialogue change how you're going to fight? Does it change what enemies you're strong against or weak against? And this is where I feel like there's more of a disconnect for me in the newer editions, because for me, when I play these games, you know, it's like the DM that hands you like 15 pages and says, well, here's my entire world. You have to read this before session 1 to understand what's going on.
Sure.
And then you read it, you get into session 1, and none of that matters because you're going to the local tavern to kill rats in the basement. And it's like, but why did I have 15 pages of like
homework,
all of your deities and like 14 nations, and I'm going to a tavern for rats? Like, what was all of that, right? And it's like, it's kind of like the intro to a game. You can watch the entire, you know, intro, but it's not until you get fighting that you're actually learning the controls. So what was all of that? You're making me care about something that I haven't learned yet. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's why
introduce it to me in the world instead of pre-filling my mind with a lot of this stuff.
And that's the thing, is like, and give me a world that matters. Like, you know what? Make a fight harder or easier depending on choices that I've made, and not just the choices of who I chose to be as a character, right? Like, if meeting somebody or doing a mission, you know, like here's something that like a lot of people like. I feel like in the D&D community, there's a lot of difficulty in fail conditions. Like, a lot of people don't understand how you can fail and continue a story. Like, more often than not, you have to beat them. You have to not fail this fight. You have to pass this puzzle. But there's a lot of ways that you can make things failable and still move things, you know, along. One thing that I've always liked to do is, if you're going to go up against a PBEG, have a couple side missions before that are pass fail. You don't have to pass them, but if you do, they'll benefit you in the final fight.
Sure.
You know, you have an opportunity to go take out some supplies. So he has a few less magical spells because he didn't get all of his components. You have a chance to go fight one of his generals, which therefore at the end, if you beat one of his generals or you decide to go do it, maybe he doesn't have as many minions when you start the battle.
Sure.
You know, that's the kind of shit I like to do, is like, whenever there's a big battle, if your characters take the time to learn about your enemy, you can go do things that affect that enemy.
Yes.
Right? Like, if you know the enemy has a bunch of guards guarding their castle, what if you were to go disrupt the supply line for a month before you go and invade? What's going to happen to half his guards? They're either going to starve or they're going to leave because they ain't getting paid and they're not getting fed. So that means that infiltrating is going to be that much easier. Like, shit like that can easily, you know, work their way up. That's why one of my favorite things as a rogue is not to fight. I don't like being in combat as a rogue. I like to prevent combat or make combats easier, right? Sneak in, steal the wizard's components, so when the fight begins, they can't cast their most powerful spells.
Sure.
Because you've already got their components. Like, little things like that would be, you know, how funny would it be? This is something everyone always thinks about, stealing stuff. Go in and alter their spell book. Fuck with their spells. Like, imagine if you had someone who could steal their spell book and alter their spells so they try to cast, you know, a spell and it is either a different spell or just doesn't work. And every time they try to go, like, why isn't the spell? I try to cast a spell from my book. It's like, it just doesn't work. It fizzles out. Like, why? And then they realize, like, it's not that word. That's not the hand gesture. And then they just realize, like, fuck. Like, so everything that they haven't.
What I thought they were.
Yeah, and those are the things that I feel are kind of missing, because in most combats it's win or lose, and you really only have the option to win, and it's a power struggle. It's, did you make your character be able to produce more damage than I, you know, made the enemy? You know,
Sure.
I feel like less and less like combat is tied to the story and has any effect on the story other than, do you get to progress? And if the encounter is purely a pass fail on whether you progress the story, I feel like that just means that the story is kind of superfluous to what you're actually doing.
Fair enough.
Because if the story has if the two things that you're doing, the story and the encounters, have no bearing on each other, then they aren't the same thing. You're telling a story and you're playing a game, but you aren't playing the game. You know, they're disconnected.
Yeah.
And that's,
I see what you're saying.
That's, to me, the hardest part about 5th edition is, it's not that 5th edition forces that, it just leans into it. It leans into the idea that all encounters are combat, and all combat is this mechanics-based system that the game is built around. The story is just there to get you to the next fight.
Sure.
And that's where I and then again, not only just like in video games, it's there to get you to the next fight, just so you can use the new combos that you've learned because you leveled up. And the combos aren't anything to bear on the world itself. It's just, you chose these combos, so you're waiting for the moment to use them.
Yeah.
And that's where my disconnect comes in with that, because, you know, in 2nd edition, and especially, you know, the way that High Point works, there are no subclasses. You create it. Like, you multi-class to get abilities of those classes, but you don't choose a subclass, you build one. And for me, I know that I don't think the modern aspect of D&D could handle it. I don't think the modern community could handle that, because it only grew because of how concrete and how static everything was. But I don't know, man. It's building your subclass as you go and learning what you want to do with it has always been, in my experience, so much more rewarding than just being like, I already know what I'm getting, so I'm just waiting for it.
Sure.
Like, it's hard for me to get into it, and it's harder when the story has no bearing on any of that. Like, when I'm just listening to, now you have to go talk to this king, now you have to get his, now you have to talk to him and get his, and again, it's like half the time you're just like, we just have to basically say the right things so he lets us go to the next stage.
Sure.
Go to the next fight. And if we don't, we have to go talk to somebody else until they'll let us go to the next fight. But again, it's when everything's behind, when the door that you're trying to get through is only just to the next door, I lose interest very quick, right? Because my game, again, the way I run my games, everything you do matters.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You could do something innocuous and get the attention of someone you want or don't want. You could help someone, some random stranger, and that could end up giving you a boon in a fight later. Or, like with Vixie's character, because of who she is, because of her background, because of everything that she chose about her character, there was at one point where her character had to go through like a coming of age ceremony.
Okay.
For her culture. But because of where they are, because of who they are, because of all the things that she's chosen, her and her family are basically like banished from the better of society. Like her people don't accept her anymore because of her parents, right? But they still wanted to do this big traditional thing, so they, basically low-key kind of did their own version, invited people that they trust because it's a very sacred thing. So you don't usually show people outside your culture this.
Sure. But
they were like, we're going to do it to the people that matter most to us, our family, our chosen family kind of thing.
Yes.
But there were people of her kind that came. And it was significant enough to have invited them because, it's more of a show of, hey, we might not be great allies, but you're in our situation and this is one of like our people's kind of cultural things. Do you want to, it was again, just that olive branch kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it turned out great in her favor to do that, simply because of the idea of, usually there's a gift giving ceremony. So she got some kind of cool gifts that directly relate in game, right? They're not
sure.
Some of them were directly relatable to combat. Others were more of just manifesting future RP options and basically just saying like, hey, you don't have to worry about things. And then another one is kind of an open-ended useful thing. Basically, someone gave her like one of their like signet rings kind of thing.
Okay.
And we're just kind of, or it was like a house brooch, like with their house symbol.
Nice.
And it was just basically a, hey, if you ever need us, if you're ever in our area or whatever, if you ever deal with our family, this is kind of our calling card. So you can basically say, hey, I'm a friend of the family. So like, if you're ever traveling, if you ever come to us and you need us, just flash that and you'll be treated like us. But it's also a one-time, if you ever need our help, like if you ever need to call on our family, you can use this as a one-time token.
Turn it in.
Yeah, you can basically go to anyone in the family and say, I'm calling in the family favor. This is basically one, like if you wear it, you're accepted into our home. We'll put you up for food and board.
Sure.
If you need some local help, anyone in the family that sees you with this, you're a friend of the family. But you get one family favor.
Now, weird question. I turn in my family favor. Am I no longer going to get treated like family?
Yeah, you lose the brooch. You have to give it back.
Yeah,
and at that point, you don't have, like, you may have made friends, and that's on them, but you are no longer that level. Without the brooch, you can't just walk in and get a room and board anymore.
Getting treated like everybody.
Now, granted, if you made really, really good friends with them and they recognize you,
anyways, because you developed that relationship,
that's on
with
them.
Then, okay.
But if you go to their family, like, and usually in their culture, like, families are just very segregated, so it's like they're good and they have good relationships, but it's not a very open society.
Sure.
So the idea that you could wear this and just knock on their door and just be instantly like, oh, come on in. What do you need? Do you need food, water, wine? Do you need a place to stay? Is someone coming to attack you? Do you need some spare money? Sure. Like, it's kind of one of those things. But they're also a prominent family. Like, even though they got it from one of the outcasts, it's still kind of one of those, like, everybody will have to respect it.
Sure. Yeah.
And their extension of their family is big in basically like the legal system. So essentially the best course of action Vixie has is to use this if she ever gets into legal trouble. She can basically use this and that entire family will basically, it's kind of like, let me get the best lawyer I can. And this is her opportunity to be like, you guys, I'm in trouble. And the thing is it depends on what she asks, how she uses it, right? It could be anything from I need one person, or it could be like hey, I need someone to vouch for me. So they'll turn that in, and the best possible person of the family, whether that's, a lawyer or a judge or a council person, may be the one to step in because it depends on the request. But again, when you're dealing with those kind of favors, it is going to be the best of their ability.
Sure.
So, if you need healing, they'll get the best healer. But if you're about to like be sentenced to death in their culture, whoever's the best possible person to get you out of that will be sent.
Gotcha.
It's one of those like double-edged swords though, because it will also be at the detriment of what that may mean.
Like if they have to do that and like they stick their neck out for something they really shouldn't, or they really don't want to, or they don't want to be associated with, and you they have force their hand.
And so it's a double-edged sword because while you hold this, you are one of us. But the moment you use it, if you use it in such a way to harm us, you are no longer protected by it. So you can ask us for anything, but you're no longer protected once you've asked.
So you can theoretically ask them to stab themselves in the hand, and then now they're no longer charmed by you. They're no longer forced to be your friend. So now they can come back to you and be like, okay.
So it's you can ask this favor, but you better be damn sure you need it.
Why does this give me John Wick vibes and his little coins for that whole society?
It's something kind of akin to that, just because of the society that her family's part of. But yeah, so things like that I really enjoy doing, because those are, you don't know what that's going to be used for. There's no scripted part about that. There is no like railroading I can do. That may never come up again, or maybe she just wears it and the next time she's gonna get in trouble, someone recognizes it and go, oh, I'm terribly sorry, like how dare I terribly sorry to rob you today, I didn't realize who you were. Right this way.
Terribly sorry. Apologize.
But you walk into a bar and maybe that family owns it, so you get free drinks the rest of that night. She doesn't know what that's going to do.
Sure.
And maybe there's going to be a family that sees it and they're an opposing family, and you don't want to get in the middle of two families because you don't know. She doesn't know who these families are.
True that.
So these are the things that I like to put in the game, where it's not just here's what this does black and white. It's use at your own risk. You know what I mean?
Right.
As long as you wear this, the family will treat you like family. But let's say you just, every time you're in town, you find that family and you're like, room and board, and you get known throughout that family as the leech.
A freaking mooch.
So yeah, every time you show up, but maybe when the first couple times, you're getting the roast, you're getting the best wine, you're getting the best bed. And then maybe after, a couple dozen visits, all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, your room's over here. It's basically like, a cot in a closet. And they're like, yeah, here's food. And it's enough to keep you satiated, and it's, not like scraps, but you stop eating with the families, you basically start getting like put up like a servant.
Sure.
But just maybe, so you could start to piss them off. And again, the day that you ask for the favor is the day that they can all come back at you. So you have to,
especially a family like this, they finna keep a tally.
And I like that. I like having those kind of puzzles, because that is one of those, the player's really going to get to choose their outcome. You know what I mean?
Sure.
The other ones were more straightforward. One of them was a financial boon, and then the other one was like a more combat-oriented one. Essentially, they have this special wine that usually helps with controlling certain magical abilities that their kind has.
Sure.
And someone is found out a way. They have a process to distill it.
Oh wow!
So normally it's an entire wine, and usually like the effects are cumulative, but it also gets you drunk. So
sure.
there's usually a nice little barrier there. He learned how to distill it into basically an entire bottle into like basically a single vial, like a health potion size. So you take one of those and you get the entire effect, but because it's distilled, it's stronger, but it's also distilled in a way that makes it so you're also more in control. So it's kind of just basically like a supercharged version of it. So she got 3 vials of that. So just 3-time uses where she can basically do that and get full access to all of her abilities free of risk. Because right now she has risks of using,
sure,
because she's young and she hasn't unlocked everything. But this is kind of like 3 emergency uses of if you just need to just Hulk out and have full access to anything,
Wild.
you got 3 times free. So it's stuff like that where, I enjoy when things are more open-ended and they don't have a clear cut, like, how is this supposed to work? I mean, take into account the ring that, Dopt has.
Yep.
That was not meant to have a clear cut concept, and you definitely took the bait. Like, that was the whole point, is you took the idea behind, wait a second, if this thing doesn't have a limit, what is the limit?
I just want to know what stuff can do, man.
Yeah.
That's all.
So yeah, it's gonna be quite fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's 5th edition is its own beast. I don't say that it's not worth what it is, but I will say I feel like it has deteriorated the original spirit of TTRPGs, which is why I've for a lot of case and purposes or intents and purposes, I've really stopped calling High Point D&D, just because D&D is so much beyond 2nd edition now, that unless I'm specifically saying it's based off of 2nd edition D&D, I really don't consider High Point D&D anymore. Mainly because I've also changed so much of it in its own thing, but I just don't feel like that's a good enough representation.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this before about, what exactly the term D&D is referring to, whether it's like Kleenex, whether it's like, the setting, whether it's like the rule set,
There's a lot of people who still use it synonymous with TTRPG. Like, some people are just like, it means the same thing. But I feel like, especially being, in the greater space, I don't think we can fall onto that anymore. I don't think we can use it as generically, at least in terms of, in terms of the brand, right? Like,
sure.
Because when you're out there on TikTok and you say D&D, that means something. It's not just, oh, I play TTRPGs. Like,
See, I'm gonna be honest. Like, if somebody says D&D, I'm gonna have to like listen really hard just to make sure that they're actually talking about what I think they're talking about when they say D&D.
Well, because that's the thing, it's like in the greater space now, there's TTRPG communities, which I think when people say TTRPGs, most of them mean like they mostly play D&D, but they are talking about people who play other games. But the people who play those different TTRPGs usually are very vocal. Like, they play Fate, they play Pathfinder, they play Dresden. Like, they play individual systems, and they are very vocal about it. And it's usually the more generalized storytelling content that gets directed at TTRPG community. But when it comes down to the D&D community, it's very specific to, like, 14 and 24 rule sets and core books. Like, so, and specifically 5e with 14 and 24. So that's the thing for me, is like, at least in my space now, that when I'm talking to other creators, there is a definitive line of, if we're talking about TTRPGs, we're talking about storytelling and overall, how do you handle players as game masters? And we're never really talking specifically about rules unless the rules are undefined. So we're just generally getting the idea. But usually
that's kind of a good baseline to get when you're trying to understand, because again, I know that I've definitely seen a lot of creators who do treat the term that way, but there are others where I'm like, I'm not 100% sure what you're talking about.
Yeah, what game are you playing?
Actually mean, and so it is what it is at the end of the day. But like, it sucks for me that, like, when I say 5th edition, I have to explicitly say I'm talking about 2014 5th edition. And I'm like, no. That's 5th edition. This is the one that needs the explicit name. Yeah, so if you're talking about 2024, you need to be specific. You don't get to just call that 5th edition. That's confusing. Yeah. I've been calling this other thing 5th edition forever, and now you're telling me I can't.
And that's the problem, is because while it's an update, it still is its own. It's they need to get their hands on whatever the hell.
I will say, for a while I was confused why they didn't just call it, I don't know, 5.5 or something like that, or like, now I know why, because it's 5th edition, but
honestly, it really should have been. They should have just
edition or whatever.
They should have just done 5.5. They did 3.5, and that's exactly what 3.5 did. They remade and updated.
But do you think
a lot?
That
this is exactly what they did.
Do you think that 3.5 felt like a completely different game?
Oh yeah, because they failed with 3. That's the. Why do you think more people talk about 3.5 specifically than 3rd edition? It's because 3.5 fixed so much that 3rd edition was bold. We talked about this, in our history of.
Sure.
3rd edition was bold. It tried to do a lot of things. It was trying to keep the spirit of 2nd edition while going into a new area, and it flopped, and a lot of things were left just unfinished. They basically what 2nd edition did to 1st, 3rd tried to do to 2nd, but was not nearly as successful, and 3.5 was there to basically overhaul it. That's what we're seeing but the difference is 3.5 or 3 wasn't that great and didn't last very long until 3.5 came in to fix it. What we're seeing is almost the exact opposite. 5th was so fucking good for the time, but it did, now that it got so big, it had a lot of limitations. This is just trying to expand those limitations. It's not really trying to improve or fix a broken system. It's trying to keep the expansion going within it. That's really what 3.5 was, it was trying to keep what 3 established, but fix a lot of stuff. This is not trying to fix it. It's just trying to keep what's established and update it, keep it going.
Sure.
So realistically, what we have now is 5.5, and that's what it should have always been. This should have been 5.5 because it is not its own edition. It is 100% 5th edition. But the rule sets, because of the difference between 14 and 24, really we need that somewhat definitive difference between what is 5th edition. If you called this 5.5, it would also indicate, like with 3 and 3.5, that they are backwards compatible and fully immersive together. They should be fully immersive together.
Yes.
And that's why
I think that was the intent.
I think that's why they're calling it 5. But the problem is, by calling it just 5th edition, when you say, well, I'm going to use the monk, well, which version? That's the problem, is because you've also, see, 3.5 fixed a lot of major mechanical rules, but they didn't try to recreate anything. Now that they've given us the same things we already had, you need to differentiate the two. 5.5, just knowing Monk 5.5 or 5e, that would have been easier, even though it's the same thing as 14 and 15. It's just that there would be less confusion because we'd expect that differentiation.
Yeah.
But when we were like, oh, this is just another 5e, but then they gave us the same, or they gave us new rules for the things we've already had, it's like, well, what is 5e now? If they just said this is 5.5, it would have been either rule can be used, right?
Sure.
If we're playing 5th edition, either rule just specify if you're playing the updated. But just calling it 5e, it just automatically makes more confusion because you now have to differentiate instead of it being pre-differentiated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what they're doing now is exactly what they did with 3.5, except they're going off of a success, not a failure. They're doing a 0.5 off of a success, whereas in 3.5 they were doing a 0.5 because of a failure.
Yeah. Interesting. And I do believe that 2024's intent was to fix issues that people had with 5th edition. But again, I don't think the issues people had with 5th edition were game breaking.
Yeah.
I think, according to what you're saying, it felt like the issues that people had with 3rd edition were game breaking. And so they needed a fix because it tanked and it was just not functional.
A lot of it was either just things weren't polished, things weren't finished, things were incomplete. So it was like you had mechanics that couldn't be used because there was no adjoining mechanic to
Sure.
full circle it, or you just had things that didn't have counters. So you were just like, well, what?
There's nothing you can do about it. You're just
and some of those were good and some of those were bad. You were just these things kind of suck. It's kind of like having the disease condition, but you forgot to put in a cure disease.
Sure.
So you're just like, wait, so in the world you can get disease, but
no way
once you have disease, you're fucked. Oh, well, why don't we have at least some? And that's where 3.5 was like, yeah, you know what? Things should have alternatives. But it was too late to say it was 3. So they did the right thing and gave it 3.5.
Okay.
So, yeah. Again, semantics, but that's my hot takes on those. All right. Well, I think that'll be us for today. That got us to the 2.5 hour mark. It's not too bad. Hecate, thank you again for the review.
100%.
What are we looking at for next week?
I'm playing with that right now.
All right. Well, we'll let you know in the Discord. Make sure.
Yes, I will post it in the Discord. I apologize. I've been slacking, but I appreciate all you guys in the community helping to remind me, keep me honest, making sure.
I love seeing that every now and again. I'll just see a little update. Like, okay, you haven't updated it.
But no, it's coming. I've done some work. I've cleaned up the submissions channel, and so now I'm trying to make sure that I have a nice and consistent rotation for you guys based upon what we have left, and make sure everybody gets to see the light of day. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for that. And we'll see how it goes.
Nice. How it goes. Yep. And I will be posting the community votes in chat probably tomorrow. So the 25th, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, per y'all's vote, we will be doing the community stream, and then you'll be able to get your November community stream. I know some people left already, but for those left in chat, what do y'all how have y'all been liking the video game streams that we've been doing, the streams together?
Oh yeah.
The last couple Fridays, I've kind of been digging that. You know, again, now that we're shifting a little bit away from doing just D&D content,
sure.
and trying to embrace Misfit Gamers in all of its forms, I wouldn't mind if everyone's liking it. I mean, we know that everyone loves, review day.
Sure.
But how has the game days been? Like, are people interested in that? Should we do more? Should we get more into actually doing games? I mean, I know that, we want to flip-flop back and forth between Marvel Rivals and something else, but until I get Marvel Rivals pushed to the next stage, we're kind of in a holding pattern there, right? We can't really do much. And alpha testing is just kind of boring and difficult and sluggish. So doing that on stream is just, I feel, not entertaining. Because it's just more of us just trying to keep track of what's going on and less actually going on.
Okay.
But yeah, I want to know if everybody likes us when we do the stream together and we do games like Fortnite, and we can get more games. We can look for more opportunities. I might be able to fix my Marvel Rivals now that I'm back in the studio.
Nice.
So I'll have to see if I can stream Marvel Rivals sometime this week and not have 10 FPS. I'm wondering if it was the monitor that I was using.
Oh, is that possible?
I was using different monitors in there, so I wonder if that may have been an issue. So yeah, but let us know. We want to start really, getting more activity on Fridays, because I feel like Fridays I always thought was going to be like our big day, because we could go as late as we want,
Sure.
But realistically, I think Fridays are our slowest days. So I really want to until Marvel Rivals really kicks up and is every other Friday, what is something else that we can do?
Sure.
Yeah, so anything you all can think of, post it in the Discord. Let us know what you guys would like us to do.
I will say, I don't know if this game is cross-platform, but I was recently able to acquire a copy of... I know it's an older game now, and I don't know how interested you are in streaming it anymore, but what is it called? Baldur's Gate.
Oh, Baldur's Gate. I tried to stream that once. Lol Server and I tried to do like an evil stream where we would choose like the most evil options.
Oh, sure.
And it was interesting. Definitely, I don't know if that's one of those things where that would just be a better YouTube video, but I would be down to do it. It's just Baldur's Gate is just so big.
Sure.
And there's just so much. Again, it's one of those kind of games where the story loses me, because while it's so in depth, there's just so much time in between anything. It's like I kind of
totally know
forget what the I remember like in Act 1 where you have the choices to go help the goblins or go help the druids. But then within the goblins, there was like 5 different ways you could do it. But then there was someone in the goblins who would want to betray the goblins, and then there was someone else who would like you if you destroyed them, or it's just like it gets to the point to where there's so many friggin' storylines. And the downside with that is that's how High Point works, right? Like, sure, everything. But when it comes to a video game, you want to experience everything. You want to try to experience as much as you can. And
it feels like you're leaving something behind.
Yeah. And it kind of makes it easy to where you can kind of do everything. But I feel like with games like that, there's not enough enticing me to want to replay it. Like I would never choose all of my choices and then come back, right? I would never come back to destroy the goblins if I,
saved them last time. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine playing this level of a game for an alternate story of the same story.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the issues, because then it's just more of a, do I want to metagame it and get the best game and the best features out of it? Or because again, it's a lot of trial and error, but once you learn something, you know, the game, you can go back and do it, but I won't. But it's like, man, that would have been really nice. So games like that, it's very difficult for me because it's too easy to metagame and get the best outcome, but it's also just, I know I'm not going to come back. So it's like, do I really want to take the risk that I'm making the harder choice? Or if I don't understand the choice I'm making, is it really that bad if I look it up real quick to make sure, well, do I go in the left door or the right door? Because there, you know, if we have no clues, it's just one of those kind of things where I'm just like,
no, I get those vibes.
Because it's and the thing is, it's not enticing enough. Like when I get into the game, it's not engrossing enough for me to not want to do that. Like, to me, the idea of not getting the best outcome, I'm not like, oh, but you know, if I look it up, then I just won't be challenged. It's like the game is just too much for me to give a shit about the challenge, right? Like
the challenge for every single piece. I'm like, I'm gonna experience challenge in so many different places. It's like, is it really worth me going through all of X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, and I'm not gonna look up like a style guide of like every choice I need to do.
Sure.
You know, I'm not gonna look up like every conversation piece, right? Those kind of things I'll let happen. But for things where it's like, hey, do you go after the crown or the sword? And it's like, I don't know about either of them. Like, you've just told me that I need both, but which one I go for first? Will the crown help me get the sword, or will the sword help me get the crown?
Sure.
And knowing something like that, for me, it's like the game isn't built in a way that makes me think, oh, it's so worth it for me to just make this choice off my gut.
Sure.
Like, in my enjoyment of the game will not be increased because of that. I would just be like, well, man, if one helps me get the other, I'd rather ensure I get both. So I'm just gonna make sure I get both by looking it up real quick, and then I'll do all my other things, you know, in it. So that's just kind of how I look at that. What's going on, Jess? How you doing? So yeah, almost finished. Sorry, Jess, that you came in at the very end of the stream, but we are closing out here, just having some final little rambles before we
You can always check out our VODs channel on YouTube.
Yeah, you can always check out anything that you missed. But thanks for stopping by. Do appreciate it. We're here every Monday and Friday with usually D&D content. Every Monday we do a homebrew review. And on Fridays, we usually play games, either board games, video games, or we're actually making our own Marvel Rivals VTT.
Yes.
So,
yes, it's going to be very cool.
Take it easy, though. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you bring some of that joy to a streamer that deserves it later tonight.
Amen. Much appreciated.
But yeah, join us on Fridays or Mondays. Anytime you see us live, we'd enjoy it. But otherwise, yeah, I think we are going to cut it here. Again, Hecate, thank you so much for the review, for the submission. We really enjoyed it. And we'll be back next Monday with another one once Kage figures out what we're going to do. Yes, and yeah, this Friday, since we're going to be taking more breaks from Marvel Rivals, and now that I'm back in the studio, we will probably end up doing some more games. We'll try Marvel Rivals if I can get my FPS issue, but if not, we'll go back into some Fortnite, because that was really fun. Doing a couple of different of those rotations, and then stopping off with the festival. Excuse me.
I still can't believe there was so many bangers.
Man, yeah.
Dude, that was wild.
I think we did like 4 sets on that night. That was great.
Yeah,
so
we did.
Yeah, we'll be keep doing some Fortnite, you know, keep getting those copyright strikes. That's how we do it.
Strike. I was thinking about it. Like, is there any way to just like chop off that section?
Oh yeah. I just have to go back in and just tell YouTube to mute that song, and it will just mute that section, and the video's fine.
Okay.
I can only do it one song at a time. So I have to go in there, and it will tell me there's 3 songs. So I have to tell it, mute that one, wait an hour for it to do it, and then go back in and say mute the other one, and then wait for an hour. And then once it mutes them all, then I don't have any copyright issues.
Wild.
So that's how we do it, but it's fine. Otherwise, all the other videos are up there, and one of these days I'll get back to editing, or I'll pay someone. Who knows?
Sure.
Anyway, thank you all so much. I hope you had a fantastic weekend, and I hope you have a great week ahead of you. We will be back on Friday, and I will probably be doing some pop-up streams this week to test some new stuff now that I'm back in here. So if you see me, come in, say hi. I'd appreciate it. If you see Kage online, go ahead and give him a follow as well, because he always kind of just has a random schedule. So just catch him when you can.
Very much so.
Otherwise, we will see you guys on our regularly scheduled Friday program at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Cheers.
Deuces.